What's up, y'all? How's everyone doing? Happy Moon Day. Coming to you live from Palm Beach County on the Old World Florida YouTube channel. And I think we're live on Twitter too, actually. But we've got Spencer, Seth, and Jack. We're going to let them introduce themselves a little, but they're all big horticulture, food forest, urban abundance, not to plagiarize Jack here, but urban abundance is, I guess, what we're all about and what we're going to be talking about tonight. And these guys are living it, breathing it. So, I'll get out of their way. And we'll start off with Spencer. He's a familiar face of the channel. Spencer from Florida says he can't hear us right now. Uh-oh.
I got you. I can hear you.
Spencer, maybe hop in and hop out. Whoops. All right. Well, we'll let Seth go first. Seth here, author of The Fruit Companion, available at the Dancing Elephant bookstore. And yeah, he's a fruit guy, put it plainly. What's up, Seth? How are you doing?
I'm blessed. Thanks for having me. And this is going to be a great talk. And yeah, I just love nature so much. I see her every day doing her thing, and it's so inspiring. We have so much potential to turn this world into a veritable utopia. We really do. And it's just mismanagement of resources, so it's kind of up to us to start to be responsible for our own food supply in a way, maybe to a certain degree. It's really easy to get started. But we have the potential to just share and be in the most abundance we'd ever imagine. So that's kind of the vision for the future. But as far as what I'm involved in now, I'm working with a few farms to plant and grow, but also to get fruit out to the customers locally and beyond. So if you follow me on the gram, I when the fruit is in and when I have the time and energy to do it, I'll send out some shipments. So it's kind of sporadic, but yeah, Radical Health Zine and the Fruit Companion. If you follow me there, usually I'll post when I'm getting my mesa potes out, because those are in season right now, and hopefully some mangoes coming up. That's not a very strong year down here in Dade County. I wonder how it is with you guys, but I think we'll still have enough to get mangoes to the hungry people. So, but yeah, I don't know. I've always loved fruits and vegetables, like always as a kid. My brothers wanted the candy from the grocery store, and I wanted the orange peppers and the yellow peppers. So I'm just here repping like the beauty of fruits and vegetables and how we can find them in the wild and we can grow them in our kitchen. It's really not that hard to get started with sprouts or something like that. So, yeah, just happy to be here, and let's get into it. I think you're muted, man.
All right. I can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yep, I can hear you now.
Hell yeah.
Every time when I get on, for some reason, the second time that's happened.
Go.
Oh, me intro? Right on. So, Bongo's been to my place. He's seen that my wife decked this place out. We put everything we had into moving out of the kind of little city where we were at. And we just moved 15 minutes north into a kind of a fertile, swampy lot when I got on it. So I got on it in 2018. So we're in this fertile spot. And this girl, my wife, this young woman, put in like 100+ fruit trees on an acre. Like, I saw her barefoot with a shovel a few times. And
on your land?
Yeah.
Amazing. Your wife?
Yep. While I was working to like pay for the freaking trees that we couldn't afford to die because we didn't know how to take care of them. Well, we're YouTubing. She was working for Pete Canaris with Green Dreams. We became good friends with Pete. I talk to him regularly. He's right down the road. He's 18 minutes from me right now.
Shout out, Pete. We love you, Pete.
What's your favorite fruit tree that you got right now?
My favorite fruit tree that we have right now, I would have to say it's a volunteer papaya that's grew about 5 times faster than the rest by the heat from the exhaust of the dryer. And it's like, it was an old compost pile and we weren't paying attention. And I'm telling you, those papayas, they'll just pop up anywhere. And so we're intentionally growing papayas. We are intentionally got all these exotic things. And if you look behind the damn shipping container where the laundry area is on the other side, outside of the house, I have a vent where it goes out and that heat protected it. And it's massive, just a perfect little area. And there's literally like 50 little papayas on it right now. So that's my favorite. Volunteers that I didn't have to think.
You're saying because you're Central Florida, you need that little heat. That lint.
Just a little bit far north for what I wanted. Just a little far north. But
dude, so cool. You're by Pete. You're in Pasco?
Yes, sir.
Heck yeah.
Yep.
What is fruiting? What's like hitting this season? Like
it's been very strange, but everything is fruiting. Everything was fruiting in winter, which was strange. We had flowers and fruit in winter. Strangest thing I've ever seen. I don't know, excess carbon, whatever. Nobody really had the answers, but we got Barbados cherry. Our Suriname cherries ran like crazy, just now stopped. Our mulberry was flourishing, ever-bearing. Pakistani mulberry did not go. What else? Our passion fruit. So where I'm at in Pasco, I have volunteer wild passion fruit. When I did mow, when I moved here, I'm like, what is this? All wild passion fruit. When I say hundreds and hundreds of wild passion fruit, my dogs eat them. The deer will eat them. It's easy to keep the deer out, but I have a Pete Canaris Green Dreams TV passion fruit vine with probably 150 passion fruit on it that I thought was the coolest thing ever. Now I have way more that's just natural. They don't taste the same. It's not like you're going to sell them at the store, but you can definitely eat them. And the dogs will teach you when to eat them. But I do want to kind of tell you guys, why am I here? Spencer from Florida was the crazy conspiracy guy that went down every rabbit hole there was, from flat earth to Tartaria, mud flooding to permaculture, all of it. I've been there. I'm not new whatsoever. Started in 2020, heavy, obviously. But when I learned energy, I would listen to people like Topher Gardner. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's how my brain works. It's very Victor Schauberger like thoughts and mentalities. I don't see academic level physics anymore. I see nature in the physics of that. When I learned energy, I'm like, seeds are everything. Seeds, pumpkin seeds, whatever. That is free energy. What you get out of what you put in is so much higher. And so everyone's like, what's a free energy device? I'm like, shut up with your free energy device, dude. Literally.
Yo, amen.
Take a handful of these, and now you have a bunch of trees. And don't chop down more than you're using. Like, they're freaking crazy if you're in fertile land. And energy is clean, free, and limitless. You just got to watch Fern Gully again. Millennials, watch Fern Gully. It's all about the seed. What you can get from growing trees is so much more than you have to put in. That is free energy. And that's how you are ungovernable. That's how you become sovereign. And I was all about freedom and sovereignty. I was studying law and all that stuff. I'm like, wait, all I really need is land and seeds and to know how to protect the land and seeds legally and lawfully. That's all. Mm-hmm. And, then I just turned into a hippie and quit wearing shoes and walked around with copper pipe staffs.
Love it. Well said, Spence. And Jack, my dude, a new face on the channel, somewhat. He was kind enough to host me on his channel, his platform podcast a couple months ago. That was a great interview. Had a lot of fun. That was a cool place. Seth was also on there.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Seth and I jammed afterwards too. Some people don't even know. Seth throws down.
Farmer Jack throws down the tunes as well.
That was fun. Yeah. Guys. Well, yeah. Thank you for having me, Dr. Narcolongo. Seriously.
Jack,
good to see you guys.
Jack does a lot of farming, of course, but his YouTube channel is Urban Abundance. So we're quoting him on that in the title here. That's a huge motto, and
use it
that I can get behind, because that's big time what people in Florida need to capitalize on. Is if you only have a tiny little plot, maybe you're squeezed in close next to the houses next to you, you can still do so much with it, right? Even around your pool, in your driveway, you can create a food forest, your own little, green city, right, around your house. And people need to be shown that. They need to, see it, how it can be done. And Jack does a lot of that. So Jack, what's up? Good to have you on the channel, man.
Dude, thank you for having me. Seriously, it's an honor. And here we are. Yeah. So guys, seriously, we were talking about it earlier. I'm blessed because I get to plant and harvest every single day. And it's like, man, humans used to do this stuff every single day. And so many of us aren't in these, fundamentals, these mechanics of human existence experience. So anyways, I help my whole mission with Urban Abundance. Thank you for using it. I don't even see the title or thumbnail or anything, but there you go. Urban Abundance. Like when I was thinking about my business, which it's literally like helping people grow food at home, right? Using the space you have and growing food, veggies, herbs, fruits, what have you. Look at Seth's guide for fruits, manual. But we're actually making a glossary too, like where people could like learn how to grow it and when to harvest and how to use it. And anyways, when I first started my company, guys, check it out. Because who am I, right? I'm out here on the Legends channel. Dr. Narcolongo woke all you fools up. Dude, guys, check it out. Check it out. I fucking started this company. I was woofing. Had nothing, right? And I was like, which is, I don't know if you know what that is. I was like traveling and work trading on farms. Like I was learning from farmers how to do the actual deal and like waking up at 6 and farming and doing the mechanics, right? And learning and not getting paid anything and not complaining either, but like loving the experience. So I did that for a couple of years. I went to Europe. I went to the States. I went to Hawaii. I just kept going and I worked on coffee farms and I did all these amazing experiences. And one day I said, hey, I need to bring this to the people. So anyways, that's my mission. Like, you know where we get all this food, guys, from these grocery stores and these restaurants? Well, I help people grow it on their own land and connect to the earth and experience that for the first time ever in their life, and bring it back what their ancestors used to do forever, right? So Urban Abundance is basically that, bridging that gap, Hey, we'll meet you where you're at. Because a lot of people, right, Spence, guys, you'll agree with me. A lot of people are like, okay, cool, I hear where you're at. You guys have all the answers. But like, what do I do? I'm like in this apartment. I want to do something. Like you fired me up. So you meet them where they're at and you figure out how to actually make it successful. So that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to reach out to gated communities, to assisted livings, to all sorts of whoever's into it, right? And to help them grow food here locally. So we're not dependent on Ecuador and freaking all of it, the rest. So that's a little sneak peek. That's where it all came from. So thank you for having me, guys. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Great story. I love it. I love that.
Thank you.
Sure, yeah. And he's on Instagram too. Pretty active on Instagram. Go check him out. Your Instagram is Urban Abundance, or is it Farmer Jack?
I believe so. Urban Abundance FL.
Nice.
Check it out. I'm there. Yeah. We've been.
You can see. He's gardening all day, pretty much.
When I'm not, I try to be on Instagram. But yeah, guys, exactly. And that's what we were talking about earlier, y'all. When we hopped on planting, like that's the key. A lot of us are starting to tune into it a little bit, which is cool. But like, when does it start to happen? We plant and experience the season and harvest. And like, what do? We don't even know. Like, it's insane. Like, oh yeah, someone just shouted out our podcast. But anyways, like, most people don't even experience that. Like, and we want to bring that to the people, right? So
What do you
that's
think
what
like
I'm
the
here to do.
easiest
That's why we're here.
what do you think the easiest thing to grow is if you have an apartment complex, let's say there's one tiny little stretch of grass, you can barely do anything on it. Are you what would you suggest? Like
let's get right
Great
into
question.
it. Yeah,
it depends
Right,
too.
so-
right off
Depends,
the top.
depends where you're at too, right? Obviously you're in South Florida, South
Guys,
Florida, but
Seth, the easy answer is context, right? It's like,
Mm.
all right, what time of year and where are you, right? Central Florida, South. And then, but like, okay, answer those questions, like figure the answer out. But then also like, sure, like, what do I like to eat? You know what I do, guys? Here's the hack. This is what I do. What do I like to eat? And what grows well here? It's like Venn diagram. Okay, what's in the middle? What do I like to eat? What would I actually eat? Because like, okay, I would grow all these eggplants. They like the heat. They'll grow well. I don't eat eggplants. I really don't, guys.
Right.
Bro, you're throwing shade on them nightshades, bro.
That's why you're here, Dr. Narco. Yeah. But seriously,
well, then there's also something to think about, which is the time. Do you want a fruit tree that'll give you fruit in a couple of years, but will last way longer? Or do you want something that you can get this summer, right? Because tomatoes, cucumbers, give them 90 days, right? And then there they are. But then trees are a whole nother story where it's like, all right, you're here, investment time. Or let's say you just want to leave it for the next people who come after you. Plant the tree, right? Because that's a better long-term investment.
Mm-hmm. Let's make it easy for Jack too, because that's a good question, Seth, you asked originally. Well, Jack, let's say we're both in Palm Beach County. Let's say I live in an apartment complex in Palm Beach County.
Yeah.
And it's May 20th. And I just got a 1-year lease. 2-year lease, maybe.
Yeah.
What should I be doing? What can I get started on right now to have food in my mouth?
Answer to that question, dude. Great question, by the way, guys. It's like also I'm like a different creature where I don't care. Like I've been renting from the start of this business and I'm planting. Like I don't care. It's also like some people are attached. I think it's also like this like real spiritual journey of like, hey, this is all our land. Like, and getting to that point.
Yeah.
I think that's step number one. And then you don't care. And then it's like, all right, what do I want to grow? Right? Like it's a no-brainer. It's just like, does that make sense?
Yeah. The chat has some great ideas. The chat's saying
shout them out. I can't see it.
Fig trees, potatoes, like Seminole pumpkins and pigeon pea bombs, which I think you can just throw those wild. Let those just kind of go. What else are people saying? What up?
Seth, what do you think if I'm moving into an apartment complex in Dade County, where you're at? Or you're not in Monroe, right? You're still in Dade.
Dade.
I would say
I like tomatoes, man. These tomatoes grow so easy down here, and they're a quick growing fruit because they're a vine fruit. So, and most people like tomatoes. You know, some people don't, but they probably have to work through something deeper. Just joking. Yeah, the Everglade tomatoes do really well down here, and they're fresh. I like eating them fresh. Something that you can eat raw, like pumpkins, you have to cook. I think tomatoes give me a good bang for my buck for like sweetness, calories, and flavor, and use. You can use them in so many different applications.
Sure.
Yeah, the cherry tomatoes, guys. If you hit it right,
they run.
People want the big tomatoes. They come down here and they're like, "I want the big tomatoes." I'm like, "Dude, I'll plant them, but you're not gonna have the result you really want." You know?
It seems like tomatoes is one that people gravitate towards the most when they just kind of get into farming, right? Or gardening, backyard gardening.
Yeah.
Usually they've got seeds like at the register in some grocery stores. They've got tomato seeds and stuff, which aren't probably not the best. But
why do you think that is? It's also like, why do you guys think that is? It's our culture.
Well, there's one thread I want to follow. The family name of tomato is Solanaceae. They're like so connected to the sun, and I know every plant really is. You know, every leaf is a solar panel. There's something special about the tomato, the Solanaceae. And I just get my sun shirt on and my sun colors,
Yes.
really feeling it. Like
Yes.
they can grow inches overnight. They're just so alive and they're so easy. I think, once you get the hang of it, once you kind of know what to do and keep the air flowing, then
Seth,
they're
guys,
easy and they just provide.
Seth, I don't want to derail it, but Seth, a lot of people say like it's inflammatory, all the Solanaceae family. What would you say about that? Can I ask that question? Because Seth would have a good answer.
I eat pounds of tomatoes at a time.
Why is that? Why are there books about that? They're like, hey, I'm stopping.
Because maybe
Anti-inflammatory diet.
Well, look at what tomatoes are commonly eaten with, and it's bread and pasta, and salt, and
Right.
so I haven't taken a deep look at those studies, but I know that people have reversed rheumatoid arthritis and obesity and asthma in my own case, and anxiety by including way more fresh tomatoes.
And
so,
and Jack, also, if I'm not mistaken, tobacco's also in this larger family, right? And you could say that there's a lot of benefits to the nightshade family that aren't getting their due, and I think they want to push some of the toxic elements onto people and kind of terrify people about it in general. I love eggplant. I love tomato. I love most of the other ones in there too.
And by the way, fresh eggplant, yeah, what you're saying is accurate. Fresh tomatoes, eat a lot of those green zebras, and you might be onto something like with the tobacco too. Like I show people the tobacco, they're like, we have this stigma with it.
Yeah,
but it's really powerful. Actually, the entheogens, right? The people who study plant medicine and all this stuff, they say it's like it's like the top tier plant medicine.
Yes.
And it grows really. I gave you a little plant, Dr. Narco Longo, when I first we started to connect. It grows. It's insane, like a weed, right? It's powerful. People don't know. Maybe people in the chat, I don't know. Do you guys grow tobacco? Someone brought me a plant from the Amazon, and I seeded it. It comes back every year in my garden.
Nice.
I don't even, you know what I mean? It's no like, oh, I got to save it. It's just, it's always there.
So Seth, you mentioned the connection to the sun, soul, right? Solar. Well, the heart is often associated with the tomato. Like cut a tomato in half, a lot of them, and it looks like a heart. Looks like the chambers of the heart and the blood and all this stuff. And the heart astrologically is associated with the sun. The heart chakra is the solar chakra. And now that's green, which might throw some people off. People might think, oh, green, isn't that more like feminine or material? How's that solar? Well, let's look to the plants to tell us, why is green associated with the sun? It's the color that best receives the sun. So the heart chakra is the solar chakra. Even though the solar plexus is also a misleading name, the heart is associated with the sun. And Leo, the lion's heart, right? The brave heart, Coeur de Leon, Corazon de Leon, stuff like that, blah, blah, blah. So very solar, definitely a hardy fruit too. I guess it's a fruit technically, right? Tomato. So I think that it might upset people in an astrological sense. It could be exciting. It could be like citrus, it's you already hit the nail on the head. Food combining is going to be key with something that can be exciting like that. Like citrus, I love orange juice, but I don't drink orange juice on a full stomach. It's a bad mixture with a lot of like processed foods or starchy foods. It's great on an empty stomach. So tomatoes, yes, Seth?
Well, really quick about food combining, there's a whole philosophy of how to plant foods together for proper growth. And I'm just going to shout out Florida Man Food Forest in the chat. He said, I tried to get him on the show because he's got so much great knowledge and he's a Floridian forager. But sunflowers as the stake, and then you can trellis the tomatoes on those, and they grow really well together. And then there's the whole idea about the complementary elements that are fixed in the soil from the plants. You know, what grows good with what. You can grow basil under the tomato plant, and they even taste good together. There's something to that.
I think we need to make the Three Sisters for like subtropical. Have you heard of that? Maybe it still works for tropical because beans do well, corn does well. I don't know if you've heard of the Three Sisters, y'all.
Yeah, I think we talked about it on the show. Yeah, corn's bean and squash.
Yeah, exactly.
That's also like a seminal tradition, right?
Should we get into it? I brought a pumpkin.
Absolutely.
For my folks. I was gonna give it to them. Yeah, Seminole pumpkins, dude, is the subtropical Three Sisters for sure.
So if you scatter just black-eyed peas, for example, I don't know if you guys have seen just the leaves run. Sweet potato leaves, they say they're like a foot off the ground. What I noticed is when I did the black-eyed peas, they created this perfect canopy, and I had the most beautiful orange pumpkins underneath all of that. And then when it died back, it was all nitrogen fixture for the soil. So the pumpkins, you know, they take a lot. They're like almost like baby watermelons. They take a lot of nutrients from the soil. But if you create this beautiful canopy and you just scatter soaked black-eyed peas, they freaking run, create this beautiful dark green sheet of leaves. And then all of a sudden your pumpkins grow underneath. You have endless black-eyed peas. And then your pumpkins have that shade canopy. And then it dies off. And again, you have your nitrogen fixer. But yeah, I mean, you're talking 1 year bananas. Nobody mentioned microgreens. Why did anybody mention microgreens for these apartment people? How about alfalfa?
Well, yes, Spencer.
Bag of alfalfa sprouts. How much is this? How much food is that in a jar, bro?
And they're the most nutritious foods on the planet too, in a way.
Yeah. Well, here, let's put the Three Sisters to the side for right now, because I did want to ask Spencer this too, because he's lived it as well. Moved into a place not too long ago.
Yeah.
And you have roughly an acre, right?
1.2. Yeah.
And he's done a lot with it. I've been over there. Really cool place. And, you know, tell a little bit about how you got started. What was quick? What gave you the best yield early mistakes, lessons? What's up?
The mistakes are watching YouTube videos and wanting that beautiful permaculture food forest and not knowing that when you get fruit trees, whatever the price may be, the first year they sleep, then the roots creep, and then they leap. So you're like 3 and 4 years before you're fruiting. Sleep, creep, and leap. You are going to get bored waiting. You're going to spend a lot of money. And are you going to right out of the gate spend all that money on $200 avocado trees that you don't know if you can keep alive? Are you in the right zone? You got to learn that stuff. It's very finicky. What we learned was we just freaking threw sweet potatoes. We picked a spot. All right, this is going to be our sweet potato patch. We threw them out on the ground and made sure nothing ate them. When I tell you we had hundreds of sweet potatoes our first year, we did nothing. You take these seeds, these raw pumpkin seeds, like he's got a Seminole pumpkin. I bought these on Amazon, okay? Started giving them to my dogs as treats to give them some magnesium, a little bit of a deworming. What happened? They started pooping. All of a sudden, there's pumpkins everywhere. And I'm like, what the heck? Volunteer pump? Oh, the seeds. And so now I just always have a bag of these. I'm always throwing them. Just see what happens. They grow everywhere. Black-eyed peas run. You don't have to do anything. Where I'm at in Central Florida, north of Tampa, I mean, the passion fruit that is wild, I realized when I didn't mow that I was mowing over wild passion fruit. So what I do, I had a chip drop mulch at my yard, and I let the passion fruit wild run all over it. The neighbors didn't think it was pretty, but now everyone's jealous because there's hundreds and hundreds of wild passion fruit. And then we had one badass one from Pete Canaris and Green Dreams TV there. His passion fruit has hundreds on the fence. We do nothing for that stuff. And something that I don't hear mentioned a lot that drives me crazy. Everybody wants to get this garden. They're planting, they're doing a lot of work to get their lettuces and their spinaches and their cabbages. I mean, one at a time and replanting. Longevity spinach and Okinawan spinach. These are bushes. We put them in the ground 2 years ago, and we can eat it every single night. It grows that fast, and it's there. It's endless. Why am I going to plant over and over and over again and create work when it's abundant? It is literally abundant. So if you have space,
tell them. Yeah.
now
I tell Spence, I tell all my members and like clients or whatever, like every summer, hey guys, Okinawa spinach, longevity spinach, Egyptian spinach time. Let's go. Because it's just none of the other stuff is even comes close to how resilient that stuff grows.
And so say you're going to spend some money. So like those things that I just named, pumpkin seeds, that's not expensive. They will run. Get some potatoes, they will run. Black-eyed peas will run. You don't have to do anything for this stuff that we're naming. Okinawan spinach and longevity, small plants are cheap. You put it down, that shit is going to sprawl like this. Huge bushes, and you can just eat them every night. But when you want to start spending money, what's going to take you about a year? The banana tree, moringa. If you're good, moringas run. I mean, they are like, look up on Google Images, chat.
Yo.
1-year-old moringa tree. What's it look like?
They grow so fast.
It's unreal.
Yeah.
So that's just what many experts have called the solution to world hunger is the moringa tree.
It is the number 1 or 2 nutrient dense food in my entire yard out of everything. The dandelion and a couple other things, but it is top dog. But
can I just hop in because I see a lot of stuff in the comments. I'm finally tuning in. Can I say something about like a lot of people are saying, why would I eat fruit and veggies? I could eat meat, like this and that. I totally get it. But I think a lot of people, I don't know, maybe the people in the chat are closer to the land than I am. Eat a lot of meat and don't butcher or process meat in their entire freaking lives, ever. And know how serious it is and how it's like, all right, you know what I mean? So I'm just trying to put that out there. Guys, there's nuance to all this stuff. We eat food and we try to survive and we have everything at our fingertips. So it's easy for us to choose sides and have an identity around it. It's just so funny in a lot of ways. But what I'm trying to say is that it's good to have other options because the feeling of killing animal every day of my life isn't a good feeling in my brain.
Hell
so
no.
Just I don't know, just
plus
thought for
just go back to the Holistic Health 101, the first episode we did. We go into comparative anatomy. Humans are frugivores. We eat fruit most efficiently. It's true. We have color. Yeah. We see color. We don't see like cats do. They just see motion because they're predators. We don't have fangs. We don't have claws. We have a long digestive system that's sacculated. That's for herbivorous and frugivorous animals. Do a study of comparative anatomy and you will see that's just what we eat. I mean, you can eat meat too. You can do whatever you want. You can have that. You can raise chickens. You can raise cows. But
hell no,
it's just like run the tape through.
But I've
kill that noise.
I've butchered a chicken. It took hours because you have to stab its brain, so you shut off its lights, and then you drain the blood, and then you pluck the feathers, and then you use the fire. And then, you dunk it in hot water, all this stuff. And then you got to cut it up and butcher it. And then it's messy. It's grease. It's like that experience versus waking up and going out and grabbing some fruit, put them in your bag.
Some celery, some freaking, dude, thank you. Because by the way, all of it's good and there's no judgment. But guys, it has to be said fuck.
Well, here's what's missing. The people you're addressing aren't philosophers at all whatsoever. So obviously there was a philosopher's diet episode on this channel. It was phenomenal. I had already watched one of my favorite was Human Diet 2020 from Mind Unveiled. Led me to the Book of the Essenes. And you're talking to an everyday meat eater my entire life. And then it just kind of hits me. And then I start trying things. And then it's like, well, what if I started weaning myself off? It's like, I don't like killing animals like you just said. I've only slaughtered a handful in my whole life. I'm eating it all the time. So then it's like, all right, maybe I could just do eggs. Yeah, maybe I could just do the raw milk. I know we don't all agree with that,
Eggs are great. Guys, eggs are fucking nice. I have 5 chickens.
I agree with
I eat eggs every day whenever I want.
There you go. Hear me out. So I can go up the road right now and I can literally hand feed the cow with the milk that I'm going to drink and pet Maybell. Blah, blah, blah. The lady wants me to freeze dry her colostrum. So now I have a relationship. I can lean over the fence, pet Maybell. Maybell's just loving it. I bring her treats, and that's the milk I'm drinking. That energetically and karmically is completely different than just eating some random slaughterhouse shit that's mixed with whatever. It's absolute trash. It's trash. Trash in, trash out, guys. When you clean things out, I've fasted long enough to realize, oh shit, I got to reduce my meat consumption. I've done it long enough. I've tripped using psilocybin. It's like, I got to reduce this shit like drastically. And so going to just raw milks and the eggs, huge solution, step in the right direction. But this is philosophy. It's not, why don't I just eat meat? I'm performing. Yeah, you're a barbarian. Great. That's not this conversation. It's not. You're not there yet. No offense. It's just, just.
I think a lot about, like, I don't know, like, guys, we've all fucking thought of, and I'm sure a lot of people in the chat have thought about it too. That's why I'm like, that's why we're here. Guys, we fucking put the tape through. Like, how do we actually get closer to source? Isn't that the question we're asking, right? Like, nature, guys, I was thinking about it, right? The more I do this work, the more I work with the land and grow food and pay attention to the landscape, the more I realize that we are nature and nature is us, right?
Yeah.
And it's so simple. It's like easy to say it all, but it's reinforced. It's reinforced. And to be like, oh, we take care of this because it's just like, it's a no-brainer because we take care of our inner landscape. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's like there's so much disconnect between us and creation. But we are creation. I think part of it is they're trying to block it out, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I just wanted to bring that up, that we just need getting closer to source, right? That's what I was getting.
Well, source is, I like the intention behind source, but I on this channel, I like to stress the difference between source and God. God is inherent. God is inherently good. We are created in the image of God, not in the image of source. Source sounds like sorcery to me. And it sounds like a little bit of a black hole nothingness that is very compatible with Big Bang and things like that. And
I hear you. To your point, where I was getting, I was just creation, nature,
yes,
this realm. The
intention was right, my friend.
To check that off, I think we're looking at seeds. Seeds are the source of life, and we came from seeds and eggs, and when we harness those, whether you're just sprouting them, I mean, you can eat them directly, but I don't think the full nutrition is there when you're just eating the seed. I think we need to sprout them. Look up videos on how to sprout flax with these this terracotta plate. You can do them in the wide mouth mason jar.
What were they called? The heads, like the faces. Those were huge when we were kids, right?
Chia pets.
Chia pets.
Yeah, I never had one of those.
That was sick. That was sick.
We were teaching kids how to sprout chia.
Yeah.
So
that was.
Yeah, alfalfa, broccoli, chia. You can sprout carrot, wheatgrass. I mean, and you can do it in your kitchen. You need no soil necessarily. Sometimes you can use soil, but there's so many ways to do it.
Get one of these with alfalfa sprouts. So much damn food.
It'll fill the whole thing. Yeah, lentil sprouts, French green lentils. Put that on your list. French green lentils. Go get them at the bulk section next time you see them. Bring them home, soak them in water for 8 hours, and then drain and rinse maybe twice or 3 times a day. And within 2 days, you'll have lentil sprouts. It's the best food.
That's my kind of food right there, buddy.
Yeah.
I'm gonna do that, dude. What?
Jack, you brought up a good point, though. I don't mean to nitpick at all. That's just for everyone out there.
I like it, dude.
But I also, you brought up a good point. How do we get closer to creation? And we can debate the nutritional value of meat all day long. We can debate the adrenochrome in it all day long. But ultimately, that path does lead to a separation from God or universe, source, karmic truth, whatever you want to refer to this, deciding deity as. And eating fruit 1,000,000% brings us closer to that original factory setting in the Bible, which was frugivorous, fruitarian. And Spencer, you also bring up the good point of, is this diet for everyone? Well, there are crutches that we can lean on that maybe the philosophers or, can do away with those training wheels and subsist off the purest diet. But the average Joe, the laborer, everyone can subsist off things like, every fruit and vegetable available to everyone, but also herbs, beans, grains. Man's brain, I personally believe, developed in part due to grain and the way we chew grain. And, maybe fruit isn't entirely responsible for that. And grain had a part in taking us out of the ice age. So there are other crutches that we can lean on besides flesh for the laborer. And I can give ample instances of warriors, laborers.
Yeah, if I could interject,
thrive on a veggie diet.
Dude, exactly, brother. And by the way, I've gone in and out of it. I'm not trying to claim that a certain diet is just as a precursor, there's the way. But dude, to piggyback off what you're saying, I think that I try to be practical as well. Like anyways, what sparked what I was trying to say, I'll just get right to it, is the banana. I know people in my community, the banana, you could eat it as a sweet, as a sugar, or you could eat it as a starch, as like a potato substitute.
Mm-hmm.
Plantain, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like you could eat it as, you could dehydrate it, you could process it down and make it into a flour. We make it into all sorts of things, and it's just the banana. It's like we can make meals like dinners, and we can make breakfast, and we can make anything in between. So I just want to mention that, like, that's just the banana, and we're in obviously South Florida, and we can do that. People in the rest of the country can't do that, but
well, it's one of the cheapest fruits if you're just buying it all around the world. So even if you can't grow it, you don't have a greenhouse or anything, bananas are the cheapest fruit. Plantains too, sometimes cheaper, mostly cheaper. And I just had a plantain smoothie. Let those things get fully black. Let your plantains get black if you want to eat them raw.
Ooh,
and it'll blow your freaking mind how good it is.
How do you do it, Seth? How do you?
Yeah.
You literally let the plantain get black, fully black, not one white, not one yellow streak, and a little mushy, pretty mushy. Once it feels like it's completely rotten, it's not moldy or anything. You open that thing up, it's dessert inside. You put that in the freezer, throw it in a smoothie whenever you want. Vegan diets are not expensive.
Yeah. So Seth, brought up some good examples. Bananas. Yeah, I remember being dirt poor at like 19 and walking into Trader Joe's with like $5, and it's like, well, what's gonna make me full? And the bananas are the cheapest thing in the store.
Absolutely.
Biggest bang for your buck, and that goes for Publix most of the time too. You can, and in fact, the friend who convinced me to go vegetarian, and he didn't have to do any convincing. I just lived very close to him for a pretty long time, observed him, observed how he lived, how frugal he was, how healthy he was, how much less he slept than other people. He worked 3 jobs and was unaffected by it. And I envied him, and I wanted to make the switch. I also had friends that were vegetarian early on, who also had a little, garden growing up, who were very instrumental in my switch, commitment to the truth, blah, blah, blah. And I envied how frugally they lived. My friend would get like 50 bananas from Trader Joe's and make smoothies. He'd have bananas. He'd have fruit smoothies with frozen fruit, and he would have rice with jalapeno, and that was it. And that was like the cheapest grocery bill you've ever seen in your life. And this guy was as healthy as it gets, right? At the time that I knew him, and I was living with him like that. So I made the switch out of envy. I've been benefiting ever since. But to the point about being expensive, it's just not true. Everyone knows, everyone with eyes and ears knows that the most expensive thing in the grocery store is the steak and the expensive cuts of meat. Maybe a jackfruit every once in a while will be like $50 or something, but you're regularly looking at cuts of meat that are.
Let's talk jackfruit, dude. Jackfruit's the shit.
Well, jackfruit
Guys,
is like, you go to a farm, it's like $1 a pound. By weight, it's pretty cheap. The reason they're expensive is because they're freaking huge, or because they're imported.
Yeah.
So, yeah, jackfruit, but bananas too. Like Jack, you were saying, I think before we got on, that there's such a reliable and like quick food source for a fruit tree, even though it's not technically a tree.
People
it's
won't
like
believe it. They don't even believe it. I'm like, guys, this is gonna be huge. It's like a little tree, like literally this big, out the ground. I'm like, yeah, this thing's gonna be massive, like huge. They don't believe it. And it's in 12 months, it starts to fruit, and you have a massive 40 pounds of bananas.
Yeah, dude, those racks are no joke. Sometimes you can't even lift those racks up. They're so heavy.
Dude, people don't believe me. Exactly, Seth. Like, bananas are quick. If people want to get into people are starting to write about it. I planted 100 bananas in the last year, guys.
Attaboy.
Like, let's freaking go. Like,
wait, how cool is it?
Results. Banana.
You don't even need seeds necessarily. They're self-replicating. The pups shoot up, and then you dig up the pup and you move it over here, and then it starts a whole other little family.
I bought 2 bananas right in that time. The rest are just from grabbing it out the land. Seth, exactly. They multiply.
And let's not forget the value that you guys are talking about can always be translated into currency, whether it's for work, a more rewarding, passionate work, or barter and trade in an urban setting where everyone ain't growing a food forest. Maybe this balcony's got microgreens. This balcony has a lot because they're on the bottom and they got banana trees. Once you start having something that you're good at, you realize I'm out here trading with people right now. And just like I'm 5 minutes from the brand new exotic lagoon communities.
Dude, and jackfruit is just because it's on the screen, super amazing. How much of it, like one jackfruit can weigh 40 pounds.
Oh yeah.
And one tree can push out
fruits.
No, one tree can push out like how many fruits do you think?
Lots.
100.
Yeah.
I've seen 3-year-old trees with 20 fruits on it.
What zone? What zone does it stop, jackfruit? I gotta know. Because I got some around me.
It does great in Miami.
It does good in Palm Beach County. It does really good. Just the same, probably.
Yeah. So to answer your question, Pete had some going by you, and they died back. I don't know what the status is, but you need to be. It's like Orlando kind of microclimate type thing.
It's tropical. It's mostly the tropical, so that'll cut off below Tampa Bay.
But it's hundreds of pounds of fruit on one tree per season, and one tree doesn't even take up a huge footprint. You can keep them pretty low, and hundreds of pounds of fruit. And if you're growing it yourself, trying to tell me vegan diet is expensive, you can eat the seeds. You can boil the seeds and turn them into hummus. You can eat the fibers around the fruit, right? You can turn that into your pulled pork mock-up, whatever.
Oh yeah.
And then the fruit itself is just like the most epic, mind-blowing dessert ever / meal. You just eat it regular for a dinner meal.
That's
you go.
That's a big one that we have to stress for the meat eaters out there, guys. If you want to flirt with vegetarianism, jackfruit can be your best friend. Also, very cheap at Trader Joe's for our grocery shoppers. Maybe not everyone's got access to these, but everyone's got a Trader Joe's in their neighborhood. They do jackfruit. You can do green jackfruit and cook it like meat, and it is better than pulled pork. Way better. It's not going to rot inside you. It's not going to turn your chakras off. It's not going to do whatever people who avoid pork are afraid of. Yeah. Jackfruit.
Yeah, guys, jackfruit. I gotta
Jackfruit.
Farmer jackfruit, baby.
Yeah.
Dude, jackfruit is my favorite fruit, unless it's mango season, which is coming up.
Yeah, I gotta address this one comment. Someone called me out for saying pulled pork mock-up. Bro, I don't crave pulled pork. You do. Like, I have no desire to eat pulled pork mock-up. I don't eat fake meat. I don't eat fake anything. I eat fruit. But I'm throwing that out as a hand across the aisle to say, hey, this can taste like and give you the same exact cultural type of experience in your mouth that you might be craving if you're trying to transition over. It's a great crutch if you need it. But no. I don't mess with fake meats. I don't mess with mock-up meats. I really, really don't. I crave it. I crave it. None. Zero at all. I eat plants.
That's a great.
They're not good. I want the real. If I'm gonna eat meat, I want meat. That's just me. Like, I want the real. But and also, like, dude, what you're saying, Seth. Listen, dude, it's like jackfruit is so good ripe, right? Hear me. You don't even want it like the other way in tacos and stuff. Jackfruit's perfect.
No, it's perfect.
What do you think?
Yeah.
Well, and just Seth, real quick, there's nothing wrong with craving pulled pork, because what you're craving at the end of the day is the molasses, the tomato, the onion, the garlic, the smoky flavor, the wood, that all those barbecue flavors are not coming from the pork, nor is any part of the animal shredded in the wild. So carnivores don't crave shredded anything. In fact, you can flip this on the carnivore propagandists and say, well, why do vegetarians still want hot dogs and burgers? They crave meat. They obviously crave meat. Well, carnivores, can you point me to the hot dog part of the animal? Can you point me to the patty part of the animal? So it's not that vegetarians are craving pieces of an animal. They're craving things that they've grown up with on their dinner plate.
That's huge. And you're living with it for decades and decades. You're going to have these cravings naturally, and you sort of naturally have to taper away from them.
I'd like to interject on that as well. A vast majority of people will never admit how sick they are. They will never admit or understand the level of toxins and parasites and issues they have with their gut biome from energy drinks and things like that, to where digesting food, they may try to switch, but they feel like they can't get enough minerals because their guts are so destroyed for so many years of garbage. They're not absorbing vitamins and minerals, parasites. A slow cleanse could do well. Fasting could do wonders. Parasite cleanse could do wonders. It's like there's all these people that think that they're just going to switch and jump off. It's like, you're going to feel like crap because you had to have that crazy adreno cheat code because your digestion is god awful. It's awful. And you're barely getting enough with that. So I just want to throw that out there, that people are generally so unhealthy. They're not absorbing vitamins and minerals. Not to mention, I'm going to go to Walmart and buy empty GMO fruits and vegetables and act like, I don't feel good. Well, no shit. That's a rubber banana. That's an exploding watermelon. Okay.
Here's a good comment. Sun-dried raw meat is good. Now, why is it good? In the sense that it's like God good. Well, because you've dried it of all the blood, my friend. And you're skipping the adrenochrome high. You're saving yourself the adrenochrome high. So in one respect, it's better. There's no blood therein. What does the Bible warn of? The instance where God permits the consumption of creeping things. He doesn't specify cow, or pork, or grasshopper. He says all creeping things. So when it comes to all creeping things, the thing that he specifies is no blood. Yeah, you can eat it. but no blood. And that was when the bar was set as low as it was ever set, when man was at his lowest. The adrenochrome in blood is what God probably wants you to avoid the most. And the blood in flesh, human flesh is no different than animal flesh. The blood adrenalizes. Give up the adrenochrome diet, get off the adrenochrome high, and people wonder why Hollywood is filled with adrenochrome addicts. Because we've got our cafeterias filled with meat eaters. It's an easy transition, as far as I can see. A lot of your carnivore influencers are self-admitted adrenochrome addicts. They say that adrenal gland is good for you, and they love the high that they get.
Well, you got to watch.
Stuff.
You got to watch out for the acrylamides too, which is one thing you wouldn't get in sun-dried or dehydrated meat. The compounds that are created when you cook protein at a high temperature, especially if you grill it or if you fry it, you're creating these really intense compounds. Acrylamide is like similar to plastic, that your body is wondering, how the hell do I digest this? And those more likely to get stuck in the body. All these carcinogens and burnt compounds, right? You don't want those in your body. I don't think. Maybe you do. I don't.
Seth, can I ask you something that the audience might be thinking?
Mm-hmm.
What would you say to all the people who are like, hey, humans started to evolve and their brain got bigger when we started to cook our meats and cook our food?
What do they do? Well,
Am I late to the comment?
Please let me answer this one after you, Seth.
Well, I was going to say, this is Longo's channel. He has an entirely different view of evolution than that. So,
right.
So I'll let you just take it from here, brother.
Well, I don't want to cut you short, Seth. Feel free to.
Yeah, I personally think I don't believe in Darwinian evolution. I don't believe that meat helped us to evolve in any way. I mean, maybe it's helping us devolve. Maybe we're coming out of a Kali Yuga, dark ages right now. And for the past 12,000 years, we have been eating meat because it's a frozen hellscape in this world. And there's all these bad energies and we don't know how to utilize the abundance. But also, like, the North is thawing out. I saw a comment that was like, what do we eat in the tundra? Why would you live in the tundra? Humans are meant to live in tropical areas. That's why you create a tropical microclimate under your clothes and in your car and in your office and in your home. It's always a tropical microclimate that you're trying to create against your body. Warm, humid. So we are humid tropic dwellers. We are fruit eaters. And I see no evidence that we evolved, from either monkeys or primal meat eaters. I mean, yes, that's been in our past, but it's a logical fallacy to look to the past. It's called an appeal to tradition to support why we should do anything in the future. So that's what I got to say, I guess. I mean, I think just look at us. We are fruit eaters.
Yep.
Yeah. Someone earlier was just like, yo, we get through winter by eating meat. And
So
right?
let me, if I may, the whole thing about evolution, that's actually one of the one of the most fallacious carnivore propaganda lies, is that meat was instrumental in us becoming smarter or more, creative, artistic, scientific, anything like that. That's completely not true. Even the most hardcore mainstream academics who will go against vegetarianism will admit that it was grain-based agriculture, horticulture, grain-based horticulture that truly shaped our skulls, reshaped our brains, and created a large difference between the races. This is observable. You can't observe eating meat and getting smarter. In fact, all the world's geniuses that there's ever been, the world's greatest geniuses have all been vegetarian. Nikola Tesla, Da Vinci, of all the greatest bands, there's been the Beatles, Led Zeppelin, Black Sabbath. You can go on and on. At least one member has been vegetarian. All the great Greek philosophers, Plato, Hippocrates, Pythagoras. You can go on and on. The Neoplatonists, too. Friedrich Nietzsche, Richard Wagner criticized Nietzsche, then ended up going vegetarian himself.
So doctor, it was the grain.
It's the grain that set the cold weather people up for success.
The berry?
I can prove that to you. What
berry?
Yes. No. Grain, wheat, rye, oat, and barley. The four original Northern European grains.
Can I say one thing before you dive into this?
Yeah.
Just as a little setup. Most people probably don't have a gluten allergy. They probably have a glyphosate bleach allergy.
Without a doubt.
And an allergy to the incomplete whole grain, because it's always stripped and there's no selenium, there's no magnesium in the white flour anymore. So it's not gluten, it's not wheat that people have a problem with. It's what we've done to it.
Bro, it's garbage.
So, because I know also, you're about to sing the praises of the grain, so I just wanted to kind of support that a little bit.
Yes,
it's a brand new thing. What you're saying, brand new corporation.
I've run into people who say they have grain issues. Number one, they usually have weak jaws or weak chins, and they're not doing much chewing, and they may be mouth breathers. Which, I mean, grain is going to dry the mouth out very much so. So if you're mouth breathing, that's going to be detrimental. Also, grain is largely digested in the mouth. So you've got to make sure you take time with it in the mouth. Ooh. You have to recreate the fruit in your mouth. That's the beauty of grain. You're salivating into it big time. And you have to take your time with pasta. You have to take your time with things like that. And you'll see people chewing way too fast when they're eating grains or bread, and then they'll blame it on the bread when they've swallowed it like fruit. But they're expecting the hydration. Their body's expecting that burst of hydration. You need to chew and salivate into your grains, gluten food. There's nothing wrong with gluten.
Great.
Your stomach is okay for gluten. And don't let people say, oh, well, the chickens have 3-chamber, 4-chamber stomachs, whatever. Yeah, they also peck it out of shit on the ground, raw, right? They don't bake it and put salt and spices into it. So our stomach is good with grain, but you have to chew it through and get it moist. So let's just talk about the sciences and the arts and what actually constitutes a civilized people. It is grain or cereal based agriculture. In the Native Americas, the people who brought civilization to the rest of the world, they brought with them grain. Yeah. The nomads who were, setting up cities all across Eurasia, they're bringing grain with them. And when you bring grain into a very primal, primitive people, that's like God showing up. I mean, hey, you just lifted so much burden off the people's backs, surviving day to day. There's meat all across the planet. You know what I mean? That doesn't differentiate people. Almost every culture gets a dose of some bovine animal and some, goat or some fowl. And that doesn't set them apart or differentiate them. But the clinging to grains is the clear identifiers of great empires. Obviously, the empires go to war over their grains. See, they could care less about the about the herds. Herds will pop right back up. You'll steal someone from someone else. But planting, getting that grain, and hey, might piss the other camp off here is these people who were herding animals by the thousands. They weren't doing so to slaughter them primarily. They were doing so to get the cheese from them. And the cheese could be stored and is a huge, calorie dense, nutrient dense. We can debate that, but it's a big dose of something, of energy. And if you're talking ice age times, you don't have tropical fruit all over the place. It was grain. 90% of what kept Northern Europeans on top of the food chain, gotta say it, it's the truth, is that they were thriving through the ice age because of grain and livestock that they were milking. not slaughtering. You don't need livestock to slaughter. You can go kill deer out in the woods all you want. The beauty of livestock was milking them and shearing the sheep for the wool and things like that. So people confuse movements of flocks with empires as if it's the lifeblood of an empire. No, grain is the lifeblood of an empire. Grain reserves. And in the Americas, which is a good example for people who were, very primitive, maybe, depending on who you ask, the ones who were more sophisticated and had a refined society were clearly the ones who relied on corn. 100%. And the ones who were relying on fish, they were some cool people too. Might have been giant, might have been some fierce warriors, but they were not architectural. They did not have, instruments with notes on them, right? There's a clear difference. And the ones who are chewing grain, just to talk about phrenology a little bit, or, the shape of the skull, what separates modern humans scientifically, anatomically, from the other primitive subhumans around the planet. Cro-Magnon was a chewer of grain, and that brought him through the Ice Age and sent his, what do they call it? The frontal lobe expanded. And by chewing down on these grains, it keeps the jaw sturdy and square and straight, and the brain grows up, essentially. It grows up, it grows upward.
Do you know teeth and bones are piezoelectric?
Yes.
Meaning under pressure, they put out a charge. And so the nerves attached to your teeth are really, really big. And every time you chew, you are sending voltage into the body, into the brain, into the skull. And again, bones are piezoelectric too. Look it up. And so chewing really does reform the sinuses. You can read about this. He's got a whole chapter on it in the book Breath by James Nestor about chewing and how it improves our breath because it expands our sinuses. And I don't know about the brain growing up or the skull growing up. That sounds pretty cool, but I believe it. I mean, you can feel your whole head working when you're chewing these dense things. And also sprouted grains are huge. Look into the work of Ann Wigmore, Dr. Ann Wigmore. She started the Hippocrates Institute in Boston, and then it moved to Palm Beach. It's in West Palm Beach right now. And she's got a center in Puerto Rico as well. I mean, she's died, but she did amazing research on wheatgrass and feeding it to cows who were infertile, and it reversed that. They were able to have calves after that, and white hair turning back to brown on wheatgrass juice. So the sprouted wheatberry and the different variations of wheat, barley grass, things like that, insane health benefits.
Yep. Here, we've got something good here. Someone said bring receipts. We've got receipts. We're going to get back to fruit and urban abundance too, but we always like to do justice to the truth. Let's just look at some receipts here. Okay. In the middle, we're not gonna say which race is what. We don't really need to. It's not about skin color. It's about diet. Now, people who largely hunt look like what you're seeing in the middle. People who store grain look like what you see on the top and the bottom. By the way, the people on the top and the bottom score so high on standardized tests that it's almost unfair to put them side by side. And it sparks, not so pleasing discussions. But what needs to be stressed is not a racial element. What needs to be stressed is if you're eating like a vulture, your descendants will start being shaped like vultures. The mouth will start to stick out like a predator, and the jaw starts to grow forward. This is called submandibular prognathus, I think. Something like that. And it's for tearing flesh. And when you see that, the forehead disappears. The forehead becomes smaller. The impulse control becomes weaker.
Wow.
Lower IQ, lower impulse control. This is the hunter's diet. This is, I see the animal and I kill immediately. You don't need to wait to the next year to let loose an arrow. You see, you kill. You jump on it when you see it. No impulse control. It's pretty good for a hunter. But the smart, intelligent test takers, the architectural geniuses who've built cities that will still be standing 1,000 years from now, they hoard grain, by the way. Now, fruit, I'll sing fruit's praises, for the rest of my life. But grain is what got us through an ice age, not meat.
Yeah.
There's meat in the tropics. Teenager diet. Thank you.
Doctor, I love that what you just talked about, man. I haven't heard it that deep. Thank you for sharing that, bro. It's and by the way, I had this girl on my podcast who did all this research on how to use your crops for how to sustain your bodies. And she did all this research around all these civilizations, and she came around the conclusion that everybody grew some sort of grain and made a flatbread and some sort of, pizza, naan, whatever, all of these cultures. And she was talking about it on my show, and it's powerful to think about. Yeah, like what you're saying, civilization that's not around anything but that.
Yeah. Hey, that brings up a good point. Is the Timucua who lived to what are we looking at, Seth? I'll blow you.
Well, this is I'm just showing that Weston A. Price did a lot of this work too. He was showing the dental nature, the dental formation of these tribes all around the world. So each chapter is basically a different location, and he shows the teeth of these like tribal villages, and noticed how and compared them to actually old skulls too, to see how they changed over time. And basically the whole thesis is with the advent of more modern agriculture and more modern food, that the skulls are deforming, that the teeth are deforming. And he kind of argues that grains are the problem here, but I don't think he's seeing the whole picture. I mean, obviously Weston Price advocates for meat consumption because he's drawing a conclusion based on a different timeline, I think. But anyways, I was just showing this is some of the skull work, like Australian Aborigines and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people who don't eat a lot of grain have pretty much no frontal lobe. Like they're just tearing flesh like a baboon. Baboons are not even as carnivorous as people make them out to be. Frugivorous monkeys have fangs like 4 times longer than our canines. So canines don't tell you anything about eating meat. It's actually like territorial, like fighting usually. Pigs are eating corn off the ground. They'll eat a corpse here and there. Yeah, but they don't use their tusks for chewing, do they? So frugivorous monkeys have fangs. They're not for sinking into flesh. Neither are our canines. I dare anyone to go try and eat a squirrel with your bare hands without skinning it. That's the test of a true carnivore. Here, let's get back into the fruit forests, urban abundance, triggered vegan rants.
I'm always here for those.
But bunch of carny clowns. Don't want to be a carny, guys. Carnies are clowns, right? Carnies have a bad reputation. Carnival comes into town, they rob you. All the pretty lights and the music, and they rob you blind.
I think it's good when we're trying to figure out how to utilize our environment for food. It's really good to establish what our food is. And so the discussion of the grains and going deep, I think ties like right into this conversation. Any type of vegetation is what we're trying to understand. What's our role here? What's our role with vegetation? Okay. What's our role with meat? What's our role with animals?
Here's a good segue. Any of you guys feel free to jump in. Is grain compatible with urban abundance? Is there a grain, a cereal that people should be, relying on as a crutch maybe that you can fit in your backyard?
I'm going to go back to wheat berries in the kitchen. You don't even need any land to sprout wheatgrass.
Grind it on the table with that little grinder thing and then make your flour. Done deal. Wheat berries all day.
Yeah. Yeah, so you can grind your wheat berries. I'm talking about sprouting them. 10 cents, and you get an entire flat of wheatgrass that you can get, at least 2 ounces of juice out of that, and or much more. And
Hey Tim, there's no B12 in meat, by the way. The B12 in meat is from them walking barefoot on soil. B12 is pretty much like the poop, like the byproduct of bacteria that coats the entire ground. And it's actually not found in flesh at all, and it's found most in ground beef because it's ground up with most of the other parts of the animal that have touched all the ground and the dirt and things like that. So B12, weak argument. Sorry, you're making me cut into my guests here. It's not a good look, Tim.
Dude, yes. By the way, someone just said amaranth. Can I hop in on this grain?
And if you want to get B12 as a vegan,
Got it right.
Don't wash your fruits and vegetables so hard. A little dirt is good for you. Walk barefoot outside. You'll get B12 by walking barefoot outside. I don't know a single person who goes barefoot to the park that suffers from a B12 deficiency. By the way. But
all right, guys, great. Check it out. Who here lives in Florida? All of us. Let's go. Guys, amaranth. Everyone keeps saying amaranth. I love this. And there's 100 different amaranths if you look into it, like for real. But I was about to say there are some that I grow. Lago spinach, also known as celosia. You guys could look into it. It's this beautiful looking plant, grows well all year long.
Yes.
You could collect the seeds and cook it as with your rice as like a amaranth, right? You see it in the store, rice and amaranth. It's a grain. So there's sorghum. If you look in all these permaculture books, they use sorghum as like the grain to grow. But I think there's a whole wide variety of what you can grow as grains. But what the first thing that came to mind, like I've learned from people who grow grains, and like they've taught me about the different ones that work well and whatnot. I've used Lago spinach. But what came to mind when you started bringing up grains and like, what's the one for Florida, Dr. Narcolongo? The first thing that came to mind is more of like a legume, but it's like pigeon pea.
Bro, it's a bush that's prolific within 6 months of dropping it.
Dude.
The beautiful flowers and delicious peas.
The birds, the pollinators are all in it. They're in the trees. We've got amaranth right outside the window.
It's the most aggressive plant too. It grows. It's like it takes over everything. But yeah, and you could do all sorts of stuff. Make anything you want. It's like a lentil alternative, right?
Mm-hmm. And they're great for the farms down here. I mean, all the farms grow pigeon peas because they're good nitrogen fixers. They're good biomass.
Bro, nailed it.
Multifunction.
Nailed it.
Yeah, and you can stand. I did this a couple weeks ago. You stand around one tree and just harvest for 20 minutes. Pull all the peas off. There's so many. It was like I couldn't even get all of them.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you? Yeah, guys. And I had John. You guys know John Kohler,
the juice guy.
Classic legend. Anyways, he came to my place and we made all this. He was like used to be a raw guy, but then he got into these and I learned so much how to eat. Like you could use this in so many ways, man. And it's protein. Like I just think about what's possible. Like there's grains. Like I'm sure like maybe I haven't even come across it, right? Like us, maybe you guys know more than I do about grains or someone does, and we're going to come across it. But when I think about it, it's pigeon peas and like bananas.
Yes.
Yucca. You right? Like which ones can provide for us, right? Yucca, guys. Cassava. Do you grow that, Spencer?
No, but Rob Greenfield almost got us to. We have sweet potatoes and these massive, like purple Japanese sweet potatoes that get so big that I'm like, I don't want yucca when I got this. They're huge.
Yams, the true yam.
They just, it's like I'm so busy working, whether it was my job or now I'm switching over to my Florida freeze dried business that I'm opening for all this stuff.
What's that, dude?
All right. So I'm getting ready to launch in a couple weeks. I've got a shipping container jacked up, ready to go, decked out for freeze drying tens of thousands of pounds this year. So any of you guys that I appreciate, you guys are going to be, Jack, you're going to be on the website. I've already got literally when I'm making my Shopify page, I've got a section for Longo. I told Seth earlier, Seth, you can have your own section. You know, I've got a picture of him on your podcast. It's a beautiful picture because the editing was great, right? And it's like, meet Dr. Narco Longo, and it's got a hyperlink to him. It says a little thing about him. So mine is farms, products, farms, and influencers. My goal is to have a fresh from farm icon and a freeze-dried icon on specific products because I care about promoting any Florida farm in general. So I'm going to go to these farms. I'm going to work with them. End of season, don't just cut the damn blueberries and waste. I don't want to see any. Why is there any waste? I will come and get it. I was on a migrant bus 2 weeks ago trying to tell them, hey, let me come get the last batch of blueberries. Don't just cut the trees. Okay. No, they didn't. We didn't translate it well enough. I messed up. I missed it. But I want to freeze dry any waste. So I'm gonna launch pretty soon. But right now I'm starting with 6 pretty big machines, freeze dryers, full time, year round. If anybody has excess or an exotic product that you think it's worth, partnering up with me with, I'll do it for you guys. But I'm 100% gonna put you guys on my website. Influencers that support the mission. The mission. Save freaking Longo didn't like that. Help Florida farms. Straight up, because the food industry is under attack. I'm a conspiracy guy. I'm deep into all that stuff. Not to doom and gloom it, but say they're going after all the farmers.
Solutions, brother.
Well,
Sorry,
didn't mean to cut you off.
Let's
man.
go, Spence. Fuck yeah.
The cattle industry is being
Fuck yeah.
These boys not going to hurt their feelings in Florida. What I know is that's a massive, dangerous land grab. As in, we're going to be growing in subdivisions with freaking clay bottoms. That's all we're going to have if we don't get those lands and secure them. So converting people that traditionally are losing their ass off cattle, these days, converting those old farmers, me showing up saying, hey, this is how much you can make if we turn that into a watermelon field. We'll quadrant it out. We'll do sections. So every 4 years, this 10 acres is this. So I'm going to start, so I'm going to try to replicate my business and approach farms. Hey, don't lose, don't sell out. The kids are selling the freaking farms and you're getting these
bro
divisions. And I'm just like, no.
They're selling out. You're right, bro. People need to know how to create value out of their land.
Yeah.
You're right.
Florida land. The Florida cattle land is the most beautiful, fertile land ever. And there's free water underneath. It's free, limitless.
Right.
Limitless aquifer water. Us guys, we could be growing anything. How much could we grow on one freaking cattle pasture that no longer has cows on it? They sell out their last bit of cows. We start just cranking these things. That's the change that I think could happen because they're taking out cows and people are going to quit. They're forced mRNA injecting them and all that shit. So I think it's going away.
So how do we do that, dude? How do we incentivize those landowners?
Well, I've got some tricks. I don't want to talk about everything out loud because everyone just steals my ideas. But
I want to know.
All the multifamily homeboys, they're doing it. We're talking about it.
Yeah.
This isn't my philosophy, old world Florida stuff, but I believe in this. I want to have a whole night of it. This is how we do it. But I mean, on TikTok, I can't say anything I really want to say anymore. So I've got 100,000 followers. I'll talk about freaking food and freeze drying full time,
Dude, I like the freeze drying, by the way, Spencer. I'm glad I asked you because that's preserving the nutrients. It's powerful, dude. Freeze drying.
So why? So most people, those in the chat that don't know, dehydrating breaks the composition of the fruit or the food, whatever it may be. It breaks it down.
Still great. But yes.
Now you're losing. Say you got 50% of the original nutrients as opposed to like 90 to 95. It can be 50 to 75 or 90 to 95. But when you have the structural integrity of some sort of quality food, we could be storing this stuff for 25 years and you're getting 90 to 95%. You just have to rehydrate it. We're in Florida. We got endless water, boys. We can always rehydrate food. So if we're growing all this stuff, we need to incentivize people. I think freeze-dried food is the best preserved organic food that we can have, because if you look at the stores right now, the food's shit. It's all bioengineered. It's getting weirder and weirder. Frankenfoods by the day. And so my conspiracy mind is like, how can I create a business that fits all of these years of running my mouth in my truck and conspiracizing on Instagrams and TikToks? And dude, when I wake up, I'm just like, I've got to make this happen. And I've almost launched twice already, but 2 guys are like, no, you need to get more machines. You need to go bigger. We want to see what you can do. No, don't launch yet. I'm like, okay. So I'm going to approach farms and farmers. I already have, like I said, I was on a migrant bus. I was like, don't chop a whole field of blueberries. Like, let me come get them, freeze dry them. I'll bring a truck and 5 people and we'll freaking pick the whole thing.
Dude.
I like
Freeze
it.
drying. Imagine making like a Florida-based company where we freeze dry fruits where it's like Cheetos level.
Yes.
But I want it.
Like mangoes though, but like just little mangoes, people
Low quad.
in Washington. Wow, dude, these are so good.
Dude, I like the way you think.
Jackie, the whole start of this was I was working a job in Florida down the road, and the guy ended up being very wealthy. And out of nowhere, he's like, my wife follows you on TikTok. You're talking about food and saving farmers. You know, I'm a farmer, right? And I'm like, no, I had an idea, but turns out he's like worth a lot of money and has 2 mango farms on Pine Island. And he could sell out to Sprouts if he wants to, but he doesn't want to if he doesn't have to. And so he wants to see how many mangoes I can move. And I was like, I'd love to do that. And so, like, if you can incentivize farmers to not sell out to retailers, who then you lose your varieties. And now they're like, he's like, why would I pay for an organic stamp when my shit's organic? I've been selling it. I've been selling my stuff, all these varieties, they're organic. I'm not paying for a stamp. I don't need you. But it's easy money, and then you can, don't have to do anything. But if these farmers don't sell out to the retailers, then we don't get Frankenfoods 2 years down the road because of freaking contracts. Their hands are tied once they sign those retail contracts. So people like us have to make it so freaking hip, and it's got to snowball out of control in social media, that we just start teaming up with Florida farms. That's it.
Localize, people. We got to localize.
Yep.
Totes. So, let's see. What else can we cover here?
Well, I was thinking about, like, when you guys were asking, how do we, connect everything? How do we get this to the local communities and everything? All these waterways, I always look at the canals and the aquifers in Florida, and I wonder, what do they used to be used for? Were they actually bringing down like bushels and bushels of watermelons down the aquifer and like dropping them off at the land? Because the history of those aquifers is a whole deep question in itself.
Underground?
No, these are like the canals that weave through any city in Florida, pretty much. And there's a lot in Miami. There's a lot in the Redlands that are kind of like at very strategic and equally spaced locations. And I just wonder what they were used for. But the second part of my like starting to talk was trying to look at some of the olden times and the old greenhouses. And I brought up the World's Fairs and some of the epic multi-acre sized greenhouses built with glass, these crystal palaces, where they would showcase 20,000 plates of fruit that they grew inside that building, in one day. And people couldn't believe it. It was the most opulent, most abundant feast ever. And it's inside of a glass greenhouse. Pretty much you feel like you're in a mall, things of this size. So even if you live in a cold place, they had one of these up in Paris. They had one of these in England. They had one of these in St. Louis. There's a huge one in New Orleans. And it's possible. Greenhouse technology. Yeah.
People are always like, ooh, the Crystal Palace, ooh, the Tartaria tech. It's just a big greenhouse, guys. Yeah. Crystal Palace was a big greenhouse at the end of the day. All of the Crystal Palaces.
Let's get over to build us a crystal geodesic dome.
Seth brings up a good point. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about the World's Fairs. Well, the World's Fair is kind of synonymous with exposition. They used to have these big expositions. Not all of them were World's Fairs, but Florida had their own exposition that was on par with the World's Fair. And they even built a little thing for it. They built this Moorish type castle, very in line with all the other expositions, world fairs. But this one was all about produce. It was all about produce. And Grover Cleveland attended the opening, president, 24th president. They had stuff about exhibits of agricultural and horticultural offerings included fruits, trees, flowers, farm, crops, and grasses. There was a zoological collection, an aquarium, sugar mills, cotton gins, and other machinery, as well as a Seminole Indian-style camp. Hotels, Florida towns, and railway routes also featured. Blah, blah, blah.
These buildings were usually called the horticultural building. So if you look into any World's Fair, I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of them. Just look for the horticultural building, see how massive it is, how glass it is. I was looking at the one in Florida in Jacksonville long ago, and that one doesn't look like completely glass. It has a lot of glass on it. But yeah, the Crystal Palace and then the horticultural building in New Orleans, the World's Cotton Centennial, was a mind blower.
Dude, this brings me back to the era of, industries that are gone. Massive Florida industries, turpentine, saw palmettos. We know one's felonious, but like turpentine, that's like huge.
Oranges.
We could save people with that. That's some of the best medicine in the world.
Yeah. So maybe there was this grid, this providence, back in the 1800s when we thought everybody was riding around in horse and buggy and the technology was primitive, right before we had electricity, Thomas Edison. But were they providing food for the entire cities already at that point with no problem, for free, solar powered?
High quality too. The best food there is.
Vegetarians too, Edison and Tesla, just gotta say.
Yeah.
Wasn't Edison on the other coast, like in Fort Myers?
Yeah. Edison retired in Fort Myers. He had a house with Henry Ford. They lived like back to back. Sorry?
Yeah. Was Tesla down here or no?
No, not that I've ever heard of. He may have, visited shortly, but he never lived here as far as I know. The Astors, there's a town in Florida named after the Astors, though, which is pretty interesting, which I've never heard anyone talk about.
That's a flower, the aster. Wait, tell the story of the Astors. I'm curious.
Well, the Astors are, I don't know if it was the whole family, but it's this fur trading dynasty, hundreds of years ago. But towards the time of the Federal Reserve, John Jacob Astor IV, I believe, was opposed to the Federal Reserve. And he was very wealthy, had a lot of sway, had a lot of power in America and in Congress. And he was part of the true American establishment that was against this kind of globalist agenda. You can debate that, but he went against the Federal Reserve for sure. And Isidore Straus and then Guggenheim too. These people all died on the Titanic. And right after the Titanic, they staged the drafting of the Federal Reserve in Jekyll Island, just over the Florida state line. And then when it was all said and done, and when in 1913, they got the Federal Reserve Act passed because the opposition was dead at the bottom of the Atlantic. Well, then Rockefeller moved to Ormond Beach. So I've got a video coming about Ormond Beach in like a week, maybe a couple days here. Yeah. But that's a follow-up to the Jekyll Island video because it picks up right where the Federal Reserve left off in 1913. Standard Oil just got dissolved. They did the whole whatever. So they moved to Florida right after it's all said and done. The Federal Reserve Act, Flagler, and he's already been in Florida, but Rockefeller moves to Florida right after the Federal Reserve Act. That's 1913. He moves to Ormond Beach in 1914 and sets up shop there for the rest of his life and ends up dying in Ormond Beach. Well, he was in Volusia County, not far from there, right on the other side of the county. I think it's in the next county over, is Astor, Florida, which I think is at the bottom of Lake George. And Astor is named for the Astors. Some of them had already been in the area, but one of the ones who survived the Titanic did come and stay down in Florida after that. So you had the perpetrators of the sinking of the Titanic come down to Florida afterwards. And then Astor, who was sunk at the Titanic, they have a town named after them in Florida. That's
Jack,
all.
if you want, I can send you Fritz Springmeier's book, The Bloodlines of the Illuminati. He goes into the Astors pretty deep in that one.
Please, dude. I'm so interested. I read None Dare Call Them Conspiracy back.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one. That's really good.
Yeah. And that woke me up. Yeah. But I watched so I know about all of it. But, dude, that's interesting that, dude, people are writing Titanic was an inside job. It's wild, bro. It's a rabbit
Pretty
hole.
much. That was the OG 9/11 a little bit.
Wow.
Not even.
There's more to Florida too that
Iceberg.
where you ended up.
Which religion do you think Iceberg is a part of?
Wow. Dude,
that's
that's insane. I've never heard
that joke. Only kidding.
So the Rotunda, you guys know the Rotunda, right? South Florida. Where's that at? The big wheel. And I just looked at it. I was old world Florida, and for a while I was always on Google Maps, and everyone's like, "Oh, it's a development. This guy came up with the idea," and I'm like, "Okay, great."
That's near Fort Myers, I think, right?
And it's yes, inland a bit, and it's this old world. It's very, very European, but it's methodical. It's just like this old world tech stuff we get into, the whole concept. And they're like, no, it's just a development. I'm like, okay, fair enough. I get it. And then I'm like, there's something more to it because there's like a pizza pie cut out where water flows out. I'm like, okay, so they strategically made this rotunda, and one chunk of the pizza pie is original water flow that they didn't touch. And I'm like, we always know there was something there before. I'm like, I'm not buying it. There was something here before. Oh, this guy wanted to build this Moorish temple over here in Tampa Bay, the University of Tampa. Bullshit, it was there. What was there? Guess what I found out owned the land that the rotunda's on before it? The Vanderbilts. So the Vanderbilts owned that land that later became the rotunda. Could be nothing, but why did they own that land?
No, they always take over the land that they need to cover up. They give them to the Biltmores. Even in Miami, the Biltmore Hotel is on this amazing botanical garden, like old world technology stuff. So they always give it to the rich people, families. They put golf courses over it.
Yep.
But every time you see a Biltmore, you can want to zoom out and see, okay, what's going on here? What's the history?
What was the true inspiration of the rotunda? Was there something outside of, I'm going to make a big giant pizza wheel and leave a slice out where the water flows in the old Biltmore state?
Right, because it's very, I'm looking at it now, and it's there's a lot of water. It's a completely water-driven shape is what it looks like.
It's part of it's a water wheel.
Yeah. The water goes all the way around, and then the water goes into these are those eight slices. And they even cut into the middle of the slice, and they have different geometry on each slice. And one's missing, like you said. This is really cool.
I think.
We're getting into another cool territory here, which is shaping your gardens and using feng shui principles and using earth grid principles to your benefit. So let's get into that. That's a good segue.
Heck yeah.
Between the, sacred geometry architecture, you can put that in your garden. You don't need a $1 billion architectural firm to do that stuff. You can shape your garden, buy a feng shui book. It's not all nonsense. There's something to it. But who wants to tee off on that?
I would love to.
Yeah.
because and before I get into that, the canals, I almost forgot to tell you, Seth. The Tampa Bypass Canal. Remember, we had this cave diver, Brett, on Longo's channel, one of the best cave divers in the world. He used to drive me around, and he would be like, I want to show you something. He goes, there used to be a spring here 20 years ago. It was beautiful. He would explain it. Sometimes he'd have pictures. Sometimes he would have them drawn out, and he dove them decades ago. And I'll be like, well, what happened? And he goes, oh, well, they dug a canal right up there, putrefied. So every time you see one of these canals, you know, everyone in Florida's got to know, when you take a chunk out of the earth in Florida, your aquifer is a giant pressurized siphon. So every time you drill a well, you're taking away pressure. You drill a gazillion wells and overpopulate Florida, you are going to take away aquifer pressure. And remember, that's the living water. That flowing pressure is what creates the electricity on this ancient bed, this floating peninsula we have that's, you know, very piezoelectric. So these Tampa bypass canals, they cut these big, massive canals, and they would putrefy like tens of dozens of springs. And Brett Hemphill, who's passed now, he used to drive me around and be like, there was one here, here, here. And he would show me how they would affect it. Every time you break into the earth and depressurize that area, you're moving the aquifer, and it's being pushed elsewhere. And so it's important to remember that that siphon pressure underneath of us is very, very important, and to be very intentional with your well drilling if you truly care about Florida and the piezoelectric properties and the living water of it. So,
yes. Good point, Spence. Not to bring us off topic, but Betty Osceola, who's like a Seminole, you know, wisdom keeper, I guess a descendant of the famous Osceola, maybe same family or something. But she is, I don't know, maybe 60 years or something. But however old she is, it's hard to tell if she looks, you know, good for her age, or I don't know. But she says when she was growing up in the 50s, I'll assume, that she says when they used to swim as kids, 50s, 60s, right, that all the canals and all the lakes in Florida had crystal clear water. And certain parts of the Everglades had like a black water, you know, certain deep springs have like a black look to it because it's a depth and a certain type of vegetation. Yep. But all the canals, she said specifically, all the canals were like crystal clear and flowing. And they said they could swim in all the canals. They could jump and be fearless because you could see everything. And even if there were alligators and it was a bad season, you could still at least see them coming and you didn't have to worry about anything. So that's what Betty Osceola said. And that could have been the 50s. That might have even been as late as the 60s. Sorry, the 70s, where
I hear stories like that. I hear stories like that still today from the elderly around here.
Well, when you dig a lagoon, you know, in Miami, at least, underneath this coral, you dig through the coral, it's going to be murky at first, but once it establishes this equilibrium with the plants and the fish, and it achieves the right balance of, you know, filters and eaters and the whole ecosystem, then the water becomes clear. Just like what's underneath of it, I think the aquifer itself, I think is very clear.
Usually, yeah. Better be. If not, someone's doing something they should.
Well, sometimes a spring can be really blue if it's got a lot of radium or quartz in it. Sometimes they'll be yellowish or greenish if they've got a lot of sulfur in them. They can get orange too. If, you know, you see that sweet tea looking. That can be natural even.
Up by the Santa Fe, you got that orange tea looking right by the springs.
So that's cool. But here, let's good caveat, but let's get into the feng shui and shaping gardens and using earth grid principles.
Just wanted to be brief with my experience, guys. In 2020, when I lost my mind and went full flat earth on everybody, I had South Pole of magnets, like I've got magnets all over the house still. I would take the South Pole, classic Ken Wheeler, South Pole facing up, put it under your seed during germination, and they were smoking all the other seeds on the balcony. I'm like, oh my God, it works. Structured water versus tap water, smoking it, all that stuff. Led me into electroculture long before you even heard the term. It was cool, whatever. So then I started playing with electroculture. Every time I did it, only a handful of times did it not work. But a couple times, whatever I did with electroculture, whether I wound it up the wrong way or not, you start learning really crazy nuances. 90% of the time it worked, but I will tell you guys, I freaking killed some plants in germination playing with electroculture, wound up. But when it came to our yard here, I just let go because I was building a barn house and my wife wanted to make it pretty. So we did feng shui. This girl put crystals in the grids. I have since learned that I'm grounded on the concrete right now in my house. I'm grounded right now if I put my feet down, like I'm outside. And there's crystals in these grids. And I did not realize the whole connection and the organic materials of it. Anyways, she had such intention. We wrapped a square. This isn't like feng shui, necessarily too much Fibonacci sequence, but we are very intentional with staggering and evenness of how we wrapped the yard. So I'm talking rows and a little feng shui, not a lot. I'm a conspiracy theorist, right? I look at the clouds. I know that you can burn vinegar and bust up clouds. I got some buddies in Clearwater that want me to show me some cloud busters. They've got the cannons and the 5-gallon buckets where you got resin and then you got the metals, metal, organic, whatever. Then they have their tubes. They have these cannons and they're breaking up clouds above head on non-windy days. It's cool, whatever. I've noticed that my yard, when a storm comes or something that's like kind of a light storm, guys, I promise you, storms, every neighbor will have the storm clouds above them, and there will be an opening above my yard. There's an opening, and I'm telling you it's because of the trees. I'm telling you it's because of these 2.5, 3-year-old trees that wrap the whole thing that are like concentrated, staggered. And I can see it in the clouds, and I just laugh. I'm like, no one would ever believe me, but that's my feng shui spiel on that.
So you've created an organic electroculture system with the trees, because I was thinking about that. Are plants electroculture poles? Like, do you even need to use copper?
No.
Can't you just get the organic thing sticking straight up, and doesn't that pull in the ionosphere? Doesn't that charge everything?
What is a pine tree? It's a powerhouse antenna, boys. So if you do them in a Fibonacci spiral, what you did is you created a vortex going up. So I 100% what you're saying. I am obsessed with closet, and no one would ever have this conversation.
Well, dude, I like also watching the sky and watching the fake clouds dissipate when there's good energy vortexing around.
Right.
I mean, Topher Gardner taught me that biochar does that. Well, he told me that, but what taught me that was my personal experience burning biochar or making biochar. We did it all day one day for 8 hours, and there was some fake clouds going on, but not above us. I looked up, and it was just a gigantic circle above us, clear, and then all the rest was the fake gray. And there's something to that. I mean, like you said, the vinegar, that works. I have a friend who does that, and he just puts vinegar on a hot plate and watches it bust. But we're getting a little bit off topic, but it was about you're able to create harmonious energy, vortexing etheric energy in your environment with orgone, with electroculture, and even like you're suggesting with the setup of the plants. I think that's really cool, man.
Absolutely. 100%.
Jack, do you ever use electroculture?
Yeah, dude, I love this. I think my next guest on my podcast is going to be an electroculture extraordinaire. And he broke it down super, super intelligently. So anyways, he was telling me, like, dude, what you were saying, Spence, it's exactly right. It's like, dude, the more I look into it and like tune into, we're all flowing with energy all the time. And like when you study plants, right, like roots they're connected to the mycorrhizal network, and they take in all these minerals and nutrients, and they take it up into their world, and then it cycles through. Like it's all just like it's I mean, it's not like it's not like an electroculture. I guess I don't understand enough about electroculture. I gotta to specifically be able to switch it over to the plants. But dude, it blows my mind the more I like try to wrap my head around it.
So the magnet in a seed when it's germinating, I was instantly successful. Learned it from Ken Wheeler a long time ago, right? He did it with his alfalfa sprouts. He does it with his alfalfa sprouts. So I did it in germination, and all you're doing is you're enhancing the field. So when you have that negative facing up in that soil, what is the soil? The soil is negative on the ground. Then you have an electrostatic gradient for all of our flat earthers out there. And so what you're doing is you're increasing the capacitance of the toroidal field where that seed's at the plane of inertia. You're just increasing the capacitance of nature. You're enhancing nature and what should be.
Right.
So then if you get really good, like those boys like the Fertile Current or whoever you're interviewing, who knows, but like these guys, they will literally take copper and put it at the the north side, run it under the bed, pop the other antenna out the south side.
Right.
Proportions from old electroculture books, which I used to have when I gave it away. But say you do that, now you're utilizing the magnetic North Pole, which is, come on, that's what the spectrum is. That's what that artificial aurora borealis is. Just because we can't see, taste, touch, feel it because we're not freaking walking shaman, doesn't mean you can't put some copper in the ground and be like, oh shit, it is here. It is here.
Right.
Spence, well, Jack, it's Spence, if I may just butt in right here.
Yeah.
Green Man. What's up, bud? How are we doing tonight? How are we doing?
Let's go.
Hope you're doing good. Hope you're doing good. I hope one day I'll benefit as much from your work and doings as much as you may benefit from mine. That's a wish I have for the future, right? But just to answer your comment, that's a very oversimplifying what happened. That's not exactly what happened. You're confusing two periods of his life. But also, let's just look at what you're describing here. If I have a vegetarian soldier who's spraying napalm from the cockpit of a fighter jet all day, and then he gets cancer, was that the vegan diet that gave him the cancer? I don't think so. He didn't die of a B12 deficiency, did he? No. He died of cancer, which you probably get if you're literally inventing devices all day. If you're in the mothership of all devices like Apple headquarters, you don't think that would have influenced?
Well, think about where the
cancer.
Think about where the computers sit too, right next to your stomach usually, especially a laptop. So if we're talking about radiation localized to the body, that's
totally.
Yeah.
It's also, I implore you to go look at his diet a little harder because you're oversimplifying it. That's not what happened. It's not not A doesn't equal B, right? As you're trying to say here. Very brutish caveman logic there. One sentence equals next sentence. Sorry, doesn't work that way. He was also had an iPad on his lap all the time and all this stuff. You know, he was playing with the devices all day. He had Wi-Fi way before most people had Wi-Fi. You know, obvious. Come on, let's bring something better to the table. Sorry to cut you guys off.
No, don't a lot of people like go on juicing diets when they get cancer, right? To like
absolutely
exactly. I don't want to bore people with anything else, but I also became so gung ho as a vegetarian because I was hired out of at my darkest, lowest point in my life. Okay, after getting arrested and being put on probation and having to get a job. Yep, having to get a real job, like a taxable job. I was lucky enough to start working for my friend's food company. My friend's father was funding this food company, and they needed people to work in the kitchen. I went over, worked in the kitchen. How lucky was I that this wasn't just any food company, any catering company. This was a set of twin sisters who I swear to God are from Ukraine and were not far from Chernobyl during Chernobyl. And that could be a whole nother rabbit hole. Didn't happen the way they tell us, whatever. They moved to America and get cancer at the same time. One stage 3, one stage 4. One's breast cancer, one's pituitary gland cancer, like in the middle of their brain. Blah, blah, blah. Long story short, they go vegetarian, they reverse it. They go vegan, they reverse it all the way. And the doctors start asking them, hey, what did you do? What did you do? They rejected, one of them rejected treatment all the way, then got the other one to get off her, mainstream treatment. And boom, they're healthy as can be. They're masseuses. They are, health food nuts, and they cure cancer day to day. They work with Hippocrates a little bit here and there. I'm sure they've worked with Dr. Morris a little bit here and there. But this is a reality of dealing with fruit, is that you can reverse horrific diseases. Meat does not reverse horrific diseases. Fruit reverses horrific diseases. It promotes the lymph. It promotes the immune system, all this stuff. So blah, blah, blah. It is the most healing diet on the planet. Can't even debate that.
Well,
fruit, juicing.
Yeah.
This is the way back from cancer, 100% to fight back.
Cancer is caused by a buildup of toxins in the body, and the digestion of fruit leaves no toxic burden. I mean, unless there's like heavy pesticides on it or something. But an organic piece of fruit leaves zero toxic burden on the body. You poop out the fiber, you absorb the sugar, you take in the vitamins, vibrations, and you call it a day. When you digest proteins and cooked foods and things like this, there's a little bit more of a toxic burden. Yes, your body takes care of it. It can flush it. But that's all I really wanted to say on that.
Yeah, and also flesh is a bioaccumulator. It's a toxin accumulator. The fat of the organism and the organs is where toxins bioaccumulate. Toxins don't bioaccumulate in fruits or vegetables. In fact, the plant and the tree will suffer to spare the fruit. The tree will suffer to keep the fruit 100% healthy. Fruit has its own immune system. Even when it drops off the tree, it's going to fight to keep itself healthy and expel toxins. You just don't get that with the corpse diet. It's dead on arrival. It's been dead for weeks. There's no immune boost. You hold this thing up to an electronic energy reading device. There's no energy coming out of a big hunk of steak. Just some.
Yeah. To your point, I do eat. Yeah, guys. To your point, Dr. Narcolongo, I do eat both meat and veggies and fruits. Just to say, guys.
That's
I do
cool.
farm. Yeah. So anyways, I do. But this is a dope conversation. And what I would say is, like, guys, as a farmer, because that's what I do. I farm veggies and fruits. There are farmers that, have ranches that have meats and all sorts of different products, but I have veggies and fruits. And I guess what I would say is, every time I have a new client that I'm going to help them grow food on their land, and they have a baby, I'm not thinking about like, we need to like get pigs in their diet. No, I'm literally thinking bananas. We need to grow bananas. That's the first thing they're going to start eating. Like oats, or like, it's not like, to what you're saying. Anyways, like, it just goes back to bananas, like easy stuff to grow on the ground.
Yeah.
It's fucking right there for us.
I saw a question in the chat that said, do you guys judge people for eating meat? And definitely not. I don't. I think if I worried about what other people ate, then I'd go crazy. Right? I can't worry about what you're eating. So I love you no matter what. I respect you no matter what. But I guess I speak up on this.
Is it wrong? Is it wrong?
Listen, that's a good point. I hate to jump in. Judgment. Let's quit dilly-dallying with the words. Judgment means right or wrong. Thank you, Jack. I will judge a meat eater to their face. It is wrong. You're still my brother. And ultimately, Jesus and the Lord is going to judge us.
So you're judging the act, but not the person. You're not going to say you're a piece of shit, because like that doesn't.
Well, hang on.
That's not constructive, and I don't even believe that. But would
I'm just not gonna back down from saying it's wrong. It's wrong 100%. It's an adrenochrome diet. No man that's living a wholesome life and reading the same Bible as me can come away with, yeah, I'm gonna crunch on some corpses. No truther can call themselves a truther, calling themselves anti-adrenochrome when they themselves are on the adrenochrome diet. So I will judge, I will discern right from wrong, and I will say it from the rooftops. Flesh is wrong, should be avoided at all costs. We're not living in the Ice Age. By all means, go be an Eskimo. And this is not personal. If anyone walked into my bookstore, they'd get the same sermon. And this is said as a brother with genuine care for anyone out there. Cease the blood diet. Get off the corpse cravings. Quit messing around with the carrion. The word carrion is not mentioned in school or nutritional classes, because the moment someone finds out what carrion is, they find out they're not predators. They find out they're not the apex food pyramid. They're the bottom of the food pyramid. We're eating carrion that's been dead for weeks. How can we call ourselves the top of the food pyramid? That's preposterous. So there's nothing noble. There's nothing predatory about consuming something that's been dead for weeks. And judgment has its place. I'm so done with this anti-judgment nonsense. You know where that came from? The UN. Fuck that. We need some bullying here and there. Bullying has its place in society. It's true. You know, hey, everyone needs a challenge. I'm holding people to a high standard because I'm okay with being held to a high standard. Is it self-righteous? Whatever. I don't care. It's self-righteous because I want to do what's right. If wanting to do what's right means being self-righteous, label me self-righteous. Jesus was a vegetarian. All the world's greatest geniuses have been vegetarians. You can be strong as a vegetarian. You can be weak as a meat eater. Trust me on that. There's nothing that meat can give you besides an adrenochrome high that you can't get from fruits, vegetables, beans, and herbs. So it is right versus wrong. I will judge as a human my other humans, not as a soul to another soul, but as a human living in the same city as my brother. I will judge. I will scream from the rooftops. And we have an obligation to tell right from wrong. Go read the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Go read your oldest truth texts ever. They don't say, oh yeah, leave off the judgment. No, they say you have an absolute duty to never let falsehood reign above truth. Never let falsehood reign supreme over truth. If that means shouting, if that means saying, hey, waiter, is there fucking pork in this? If that means being the burden to the whole table, I don't care. Jesus was the thorn in someone's side, by the way.
I'm with you 100%. I'm with you 100%. I think I just try to make a point not to judge an entire person based on what they're eating because of a cultural habit that they've developed or through messions or something.
Well, you hit the nail on the head. Is
Longo.
Seth, you already made the clear distinction. I'm judging as a judge would do. Is this evil or is this not evil? Is this good or is this not good? Is it acceptable for a human? Can I bring will I trust a corpse eater as much as I'll trust a vegetarian? These are things that are right and wrong. It's okay for a man to weigh in their head. But what you said is someone a piece of shit? Now, I know vegetarians who are pieces of shit. Don't get me wrong. So morality, how someone operates day to day, you can't deduce that. But I can tell whether eating meat is right or wrong. And if someone is promoting meat, and if they don't know it's wrong, that's not going to stop me from telling them it's wrong.
100%.
Doesn't mean anyone's a piece of shit. That's not what I'm saying.
I like that clarity. Thanks for breaking that down.
I'd like to throw something out for you guys, just for the listeners. The C word came out. I usually don't say it. That's a word that's owned by specific entities. They literally own that word. So just so you guys probably don't know this, TikTok, I've been part of a group that's been addressing that for almost 2 years now. The head of the group, she's lost 2 massive accounts. Jessie L created to heal. She has lost massive accounts. A buddy of mine created another account for her again. She's still up and running. She's writing a book with the not dozens. I mean, we're talking like she's probably getting close to 100 in a year cancer testimonials. And one of the first things that is part of what, we do is we remove the meat. So, and I'm throwing that out there for you guys. Her name is Jessie L, Created to Heal. And she has seminars that she's starting like freaking Barbara O'Neill style. And yes, she met Barbara O'Neill. And she's like the next one. She's starting them all over the country because they just keep getting rid of her. They surveilled her. They surveilled me. When I realized that I had somebody that tried to come to my house over this topic and all the stuff that we were figuring out with parasites and the big C, it got real. And so I got out of it because we were surveilled. She was bugged, everything. Guy tried to come to my house, crazy stuff. So if you guys want to know, Jessie L, Created to Heal, has insane testimonials and she will respond. That's it.
Love it.
Sure, yeah.
Hey, have we debunked the off-grid fallacy yet?
Yeah, there we go.
That's a good one.
That's a
good one. I'll just give you guys my thoughts. What I think of when I see a lot of people emphasizing an off-grid lifestyle, right? Number one, we run into a lot of preppers here, right? I know some prepper friends. And when it comes to the truth movement, you've got your preppers, and then you've kind of got your holistic health, urban abundance minded people, where it's, if the grid goes down, we've got the fruit. We've got the neighborhood is secure. The neighborhood can lean on itself, and we're good to go.
Yeah.
Then you've got your preppers are almost always carnivore enthusiasts, meat enthusiasts, hunting enthusiasts, who like to stockpile ammunition as if it makes them manly.
Yep.
And what is this ammunition ultimately for? To unload on their fellow friends and previous neighbors.
Yep.
Who were on the got the short end of the stick when the grid goes down.
Yep.
Okay. So you've got your prepping issue where people are literally stockpiling themselves so that they can slaughter their neighbors when their neighbors come knocking on their door for help. And hey, sometimes you got to be cutthroat, but I'm 100% opposed to that movement. If you're just waiting for the grid that you've been enjoying your whole life to give out so that you can live out a second life in a bunker, you're just a weasel. You're no truther, ultimately. And what are you going to do in your bunker? What's the life worth living after? That's also a huge fallacy. They can't nuke the planet. God doesn't work like that, by the way. They don't have that much control. They never have. So prepping, that's one aspect that I don't like. If you're stockpiling ammunition, get real with yourself. That's for your brothers and sisters and the kids down the street. So I'm against that. I'm all for your AR-15s. Let's get some guns. Let's get some ammo. Let's get some ammo. Let's get armed up. You know what I mean? Protect yourself against your neighbors who aren't doing their part. But don't stockpile ammo just to unload on your neighbors when the grid goes down. Yeah. So that's one thing. And then another thing that jumps out to me is the social aspect. I've run into a bunch of off-gridders who say, I got a place out here in the middle of nowhere, but I do half the year in a populated area. And I go back over there when the weather's right, and I just let someone else check in on it during the winter or whatever. Or you've got these people who are totally full year isolated, who are trying to go as off-grid as possible, and they've cast themselves away from their people, which in the Bible is a punishment. In the Bible, that's a punishment, to be cast away, cut away from your people.
No residence.
Well,
alone now.
you've got it you've got it being advertised to people today, romanticized as if it's the way to fight the system. You can get all your AR-15s you want. You can go buy the most remote land you want. You're still going to be on your own, and it doesn't matter how big your family is. You're still going to be on your own when that FEMA convoy comes down your road. So where's the actual strength against the establishment, against some, horrific doomsday military scenario? Where's the real strength? In the neighborhood.
It's in community. Together.
Going off grid in the middle of nowhere, having a mile between you and the next guy might be awesome for, a vacation, a vacation home or whatever. But we need society. We need humanity. But yeah, that's my thoughts. You guys.
Can I hop in? Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, what's the goal for prepping? It's just self-sustainability at some point, right? But how much better can you do self-sustainability with your neighbors? You can do it so much better if you grow a variety of things. They grow the tomatoes, I grow the bananas, or I grow the bananas and this and this and this, and you grow those things, and we each have an entire year's worth of food together. You don't have to do it all by yourself.
Yo, I agree, Seth. Yeah, you run the tape through, guys. It's like we need each other, right? When I was like waking up to all this stuff too, I was like, yo, I gotta get the fuck out of here and go to the woods and go learn how to cut wood and figure out how to take care of myself. And then I realized, yo, they're just gonna keep persisting. They, whoever, right? You guys deal with the word they all the time, but they're coming for you regardless. So what I realized is we have to wake each other up. We have to all get in on this and say, hey, guys, let's get in on these solutions together. And we could actually have an impact. Exactly. Like what you said, that it's like, it's a punishment to be isolated and stuff. When I went and did, by the way, guys, I went and did that. And I went in farms and I went to the middle of nowhere, Texas and wherever to go try to be a farmer and get away from the establishment, right? And what I realized is, hey, I need people. I miss people. You know what I mean? It's like it's a deep human need. So anyways, like that being said, we need each other. And no matter how much people want to push each other away, the only way is together. What do you guys think?
We're doing it right now. And so I'll tell you guys straight up, I'm in Redneckville. Yes, I'm close to Tampa. Yes, I'm Wesley Chapel's close to Tampa. So I have massive mega lagoon communities that's like, exotic cookie cutter, you name it. They got every bell and whistle and frickin' wireless LED light going down the strip coming in there. That's only 10 minutes down the road. And I'm in the swamp and it's beautiful right here. But I'll tell you straight up, my buddies have spent so much money. When I say my buddies, I don't spend any time with them anymore because energy doesn't lie. And I know their intentions. Why do you have your AR-15s? My buddies have so many guns. I can call right now. If I was like, boom, boom, I got numbers to call, boys. I'm talking like arsenals are going to show up. But why did they buy them? Why did I not join that? Why was I different than all my friends? I spent my little fortune on freeze dryers. I spent my little fortune, like literally I had this conversation myself. I am a prepper, just so you guys know. What did I do? I bought salt and honey. I have 10 years worth of local Dade City honey that I bought with cash from Queen Kathleen right down the road to support local. And I got that raw honey, never goes bad. And I'm a salt guy. I know Seth's not a salt guy, but I am a salt guy through and through. I got high quality salt, got ag style. I got 10 years worth of it. I'm good. Got salt and honey. Other than that, knowledge. I said, I want knowledge. I want fruit trees and I want land. And so instead of paying for guns, instead of thinking about how I'm going to commit violence on someone that comes to get me in the apocalypse, I'm trying to have you can't take this out. Florida, I became obsessed with how fertile Florida was when it came to the whole doom and gloom mentality. It's like, wait, the Seminole was the last man standing. Jackson had to go get more money. Did he or did he not? He ran out of money. He asked for money.
Why? Because they got the Seminoles. Because they were living in the swamps, flourishing. These are the freaking filters. They're the livers of nature. This is the liver of nature. It's the filter. Everything they needed to thrive was there. You couldn't take them out because they had everything they needed, and it was freaking Florida. And once that hit me, I became a little obsessed with that new channel that came out, Old World Florida. And I'm like, I ain't buying freaking guns and ammo and sitting on that. And then energy doesn't lie. So once you figure out, it's like, wait a second, the whole, yes, absolutely. It's always a carnivore mentality, right wing, you know, I call it, what does my buddy call it? He calls it right wing Trumperdite carnivore. Yeah, baby. You know, those are my friends from around here. No doubt. Without a doubt. I can call them. They'll be here and I'll be there for them too. But I do not promote that. And I sold that stuff so I could get fruit trees, because that and the knowledge of learning shit that like Topher has taught me is so much more valuable than sitting on boxes of ammo and guns. The government cannot touch you when you got this. When you know that you're not going away when you die, you won. Now you're not scared. Now you can be righteous and holy, and you can move, and you can be a good steward of the land fearlessly. And you don't need guns because energy doesn't lie. The end. I digress. Go ahead, boys.
I love that, man. Well, you're talking about fruit trees being the real currency. And I think people may be hearing this who don't live in Florida, who are like, well, I can't grow fruit trees. I was like, you actually can. You actually can. There's a lot of short, bushes. Berries do well in the cold. There's Arctic berries. There's apples do really well. Pears, even peaches do well up toward the temperate region. So pawpaws, all these greens, solar power with the greenhouse, with the glass room in your house, like whatever you got to do, if there's a will, there's a way. And then the other thing I wanted to drop in here, as far as establishing community, this kind of overlaps all of the things we've been coming into tonight, is like growing food, establishing community, is community gardens. And this is one thing that I got involved with early on in my life. And that was the first time I started growing food, was in a community garden. There was a new organization being started up in Lowell where I lived, and they just started community garden. I said, I got to hop in on this. And we traded. I performed music for their events, and they let me, have the garden without the fee or whatever. And, you meet so many great people. That's where you learn tips. That's where you can try and mess up. That's where you can see someone else's kale and go, man, I want it to look like that. That's where you can see, what are those fruits right there? Oh, ground cherries. Have you guys ever had ground cherries? By this little yellow, they're like golden berries. So the golden berries are bigger. The ground cherries are small. They're wrapped in a husk like tomatillos. They're so good. They taste like it's some sweet cereal. Like I can't remember what it was, but it's got a very familiar taste. But it's such a good fruit. So community gardens. I had one for 5 years in Lowell, and that's really what got me into like, whoa! I grew watermelon in Massachusetts in one summer.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can grow fruit pretty much anywhere. Don't let it stop you if you're not in Florida. I think I kind of wanted to say that. And then look to the community gardens. There's got to be one around you. And if there's not, maybe you can start one. All you need is a little bit of land. You build some raised beds, and you get some people together. Everybody wants to be growing their own food right now.
Yeah, it's not what can't you do. What can you do? Where are you at? Every one of us can literally say, okay, we know the value of what's in Kentucky. There's endless trees. You don't want to just kill trees, right? You can plant as many as you chop down there, and you would never change the plant more than you take down. This, guys, that everyone's Tartaria, mud flood, clean, free, limitless energy. They took it away. What the fuck? What are y'all talking about?
Seed.
They have a device, okay, and they go, you got your device, and you got this Tartaria reel that's on Instagram, and it says, this so-and-so made this device. It only took this much coming in, and you have 100 times coming out. That's free energy. They'll never let us have it. Hey, let me show you that device again, right here.
That seed will make infinite fruits.
Yeah.
That is literally
limitless energy.
It's going to sound stupid, but you can't plant bullets. Bullets don't multiply. Guns don't multiply. In fact, you need so much of a supply chain to get to an assault rifle or like a pistol.
Yeah.
You know, fruit is easy. You can conquer the Illuminati with fruit, guys. with fruit.
Yo, what you're saying is facts, guys. And by the way, I started at a community garden too, Seth. Like when I first was like, yeah, I had nothing. Like, oh, $30 got me this little plot, and it was a game changer. I learned about fertilization, like all this stuff. Like it was just like the basics, you know. And anyways, dude, about the off-grid fallacy. Before we move on from that, guys, because it's important. I think it's literally scarcity and abundance.
Yep.
It's like,
totally.
oh, they're all coming. We only have this much. We have to protect it. We have to shoot everybody who tries to come and get us. It's like, wait, what if we grow so much? Like literally, like come on in, like help us start growing. Like it's a different approach.
Yeah, I've always said we've got a good friend here who comes. He orders stuff to the store for prepping because he's like, oh, you know, don't want to order it to my house. Like, don't want to get on a list. But our friend, he gets all this prepping stuff, and I see it. It's like, number one, they have like a shopping issue at the end of the day. A lot of these preppers, they're like Amazon's #1 customers, you know. But basically, when they're prepping, they really think when shit hits the fan, it's just going to be every human is going to want to tear every other human's head off and just, you know, commit heinous crimes. Right. Now, believe it or not, and I've said this a couple times before, when I think of off-grid, when I think of the grid going down, who's ever been through a hurricane in Florida? Yeah. Right. We've talked about this. Well, whenever a hurricane comes through, knocks all the power out, sometimes when I was younger, it would be like 2 or 3 weeks. Some people's houses, you know, doesn't get power. And that's such a 21st century problem to have. But basically, what happens when the grid goes down?
People come together.
You get a fucking block party. They start, hey, let's start cooking up. Oh, the kitchen's not working. Oh, well, we got the fire. Oh, well, you know, your window's busted out. Well, just come stay at my place. Mine's good. You know what I mean? No one gets their assault rifles and starts. Now, that's an importance of assault rifles. It'll keep the looting away. There's not much looting after hurricanes in Florida. At your grocery stores, there's a fuck ton of looting.
Great.
Because they know there's not assault rifles at the grocery store, and people don't respect the grocery store. People feel like you can steal from the grocery store. People don't want to steal from their neighbors. You know, people don't want to steal from their neighbors. At the end of the day, most people are good, believe it or not. Too, as much as I might talk shit and say meat eaters are, you know, most people on the planet today, by far, are good. We live in such a privileged, good world today. I'm so glad to be alive today. Trust me. All these Tartari people, all these evolutionists, they want to tell you it's such a bad time to be alive. No, we live in a wonderful, peaceful time. Truly.
Peaceful.
Truly.
We just can't be led to believe that we're different. Like we can't, if we're convinced that like around, you know what, in 2020 or whatever, like saying that we're all like, they're trying to divide us. We can't fucking take the bait. Do you see what I'm saying, Dr. Narcolongo? Like, I agree unless people are scared and they make stupid decisions.
Yes. Well, you're right. They're pushing it on people. They need to push it so hard to get people to act like that because it's so contrary to human nature. Human nature is you want to eat fruit all day. You might want to make love all day. You know, you don't want to fucking shoot all day. You don't want to kill all day. You probably just want to eat fruit and bang all day, like most normal people, healthy people. Now, that is not compatible. Whatever. That's a whole other thing. Who are you going to repopulate when the grid goes down? Are you going to make love to your AR-15s? You know, it's like, come on, guys. But the whole block party thing, it is a scarcity mindset. You see them making movies like Civil War. You see them making movies like Fruit Forest.
Yeah, they're programming, desensitization and programming for what they want. They're writing the code, the script. Here, fall in line, people. Do it. Follow our story.
We could talk about Hollywood the whole time, guys. Like, think about every movie starts in on, hey, here's the globe, everybody. Shoo. Yeah.
Right.
Here's where this person lives, the main character of the movie, everybody. Here's Hollywood.
You're getting into mind programming too. And just to kind of like touch on what everyone's been saying, that seed, make a mental seed of abundance. Like, let that be the beginning of the growth of like a new perspective of the new world order, where it's like families, communities, rather than us like fighting each other, you know, in the woods for scraps. Like, let's build what we can so that when it happens, we just pop the whatever you got to drink and share, or pop the freeze dried, you know, just pull the fruits off the trees. Like, you already have built this up, and it's a mindset of abundance. Like, let's make that mental seed grow. It's abundance.
I love it.
Now, this is I'm not making this up, guys. I have so many influencer friends on TikTok and Instagram, right? We probably all do. And some big accounts, and these people are up north and stuff. And I started thinking, how can I be an asset to humanity? What do I have to offer this world? And, you know, channels, you know, Longo helped me realize that I can be an asset as a Floridian. Oh, but I don't live in Florida. And I'm thinking, well, it's so damn abundant here. I got more food, you know, if I freeze dry, I can ship directly to. And you can click from the farm. Any farmer can ship direct to consumer anywhere in the continental US. But do you have something where you live that you can send to Florida that we don't have here? Do you have resources there that are renewable that we don't have here? Maybe you have value. But all I'm saying is, I wanted to make sure that it's like, yo, I'm going to send all this stuff to all my friends. I'm going to sell this to my friends because they'll buy it, because they're health-oriented people that were already buying this stuff. Like 5 of them already had freeze-dried mangoes in their cabinets when I asked. I'm like, y'all have freeze-dried mangoes, right? It was so funny, like 5 of them. And I'm like, well, damn, I'm going to sell it to all my northern friends too.
Shall ya? What else? That's I think we teed off on the off-grid fallacy. I was gonna say psyop, but I thought that was too harsh. To call it a psyop, it's a natural instinct to want to run away from the chaos, you know. But at the end of the day, these people do turn back towards community. If not, there's probably something wrong with them. You know, they've been listening to too much Bjork or something. But community
even work by themselves, right? Like, it's better to work with people. Like, we're right. Aren't we companion creatures, right? There's certain animals, right?
So we resonate, we harmonize. So you're there's either resonance or there's dissonance, right? You know, Topher teaches us that stuff all the time. So when you get around people, you don't have to be on the same exact frequency. Seth, these boys know. All you know, we all know music a little bit around here. We know what harmonies are. When we have this resonance and orchestra with communities, that is what has these 1,000-year-old buildings, not this freaking, oh, I'm in the woods ready to go. I'm prepped for the freaking, you know, whatever apocalypse. No, it's the opposite. You have to create the orchestra of all the beings and we're all tuning forks. That's it. We're all a bunch of tuning forks. When you show up somewhere, are you creating beauty or chaos? Are you taking or are you bringing something there? Are you building it up or are you just taking it away and then walking on?
And don't force your will upon the environment. It's not how tuning forks necessarily work. We want to come in and harmonize with what's around. So when we're asking, how do I build my garden? It's always going to be context. And, well, what kind of land is there? What kind of sun does it get? What do I like to eat? And that's you as a tuning fork just starting to vibrate to the surroundings.
Beautiful.
So, yeah, don't try to force your will and say, oh, I'm going to turn this into this. We got to work with nature. And sometimes nature will show us what she or he, what it needs, you know?
Yeah.
But at the same time, we also are given the authority to go in and say, this, you know, maybe there's a habitat that man's never even set foot in, where you have a monoculture or one species getting butted out and might be on the verge of extinction. And man has the authority to go in and listen to nature first, see what's right, but then to act and to cultivate And God gives us that authority when he says, tend and keep the Garden of Eden. That's our original factory settings. Our original command from God is to tend and keep the Garden of Eden.
100%.
I
And
believe-
we're creative, we're logical, we have reason, so we can use our creativity and ingenuity to see something and be like, no, it actually needs this. We are part of nature, like Jack said. So we'll be creative and figure out what she needs.
Yeah, and in permaculture, guys, right? When we look into these teachings, they say, like, observe before you do anything. They say, hey, like, what's even going on before? Like, so it's so funny. Like, and I deal with so many of these new builds, like clients with new properties, right? And they have these new land and they have all these trees and all this stuff going on. And like the husband sometimes will come in and be like, we need to just, if I had it my way, I'd take out all the trees. And like, it's like, what that's the opposite of permaculture, right? That's like, how can I inflict my will on this space? And it's not good karmic energy on the entire situation.
I learned that the hard way because, when you have something that's full sun, well, what we learned was what we said full sun at the store or whatever, dude, crushed it and dappled light, like we've talked on this channel, under the oaks and oak tree dappled light, bro. The tangerines and the star fruit flourish at the edge of the oaks, even under them. They're flourished. Full sun, my ass. All my full sun star fruit are dead. The one that's under the tree is flourishing. So it's like these people come, they start cutting trees, and I'm like, no. That's your dude. That's your energy. That's your communication. That's your work.
Well, maybe another thing is that maybe the full sun is good, but full moon might not be good.
Ooh,
right.
Good.
Yeah.
And moon might have a draining effect on some plants. If they're being full moon, this is not a crazy thing. This is not how many plants. Perhaps the only time you see a plant acting like suddenly, like an animal, is when the fucking moon rises.
Bro.
And a flower opens in like 10 seconds. It's pretty crazy.
Trees also they don't just create the shade, but they're windbreaks. And this is really important in a place where you have hurricanes. So if you have all these baby plants and trees and you don't have any windbreaks, you don't have anything protecting your perimeter, then they're all going to get destroyed. So, Jack brought that up too. I said, I showed him a picture of one of the mango trees I work with, and it's huge. It's an old mango, and it has one fruit on it right now. And it's like, because I think this season when the mangoes blossomed, there was some rain, there was some wind. I don't really know exactly what happened, but Jack pointed out, he said, hey, this is some of the downfalls of, orchard style planting. When you're not utilizing windbreaks, you're not utilizing permaculture techniques of having all these different variety of plants create their own role in the system. So I just wanted to throw out the windbreaks too is another good one, especially for Florida, especially for these high wind environments.
Yeah, our neighbors have this like flooding problem. They didn't see that in their front yard. And we cut the grass really low. They had this flooding issue right down by this oak tree at the front of our yard. So what does my wife do? She drops a bunch of, we need windbreaks. Like you're saying, we screwed up and we needed windbreaks. I didn't want all the bamboo, but now I'm like, no, we need it. So she dropped bamboo. Well, that bamboo sucks up their lake so well. They don't have the flooding because our bamboo in our yard is helping them. And it's like, our yard's not flooded over there too. I mean, those things just drink and drink and drink.
Yeah, getting the plants that drink and prevent erosion, prevent flooding. This is huge in New Orleans. They have like a flooding issue every year. So getting the proper plants, the proper native plants to suck all that up and absorb the water too, and not just have like these concrete jungles that pool the water up and can't absorb anything.
Yeah. Hey,
I'm sorry.
Real quick, if you were to think of one plant that we've all seen and we all know that is a representation of the sun, moon, and the stars, what would it be? in the same day.
Sorry, I wasn't listening. Sorry, one more time.
One plant is a direct visual representation of the sun, moon, and the stars all in the same.
The orange, the sun, the solar, the blossom is lunar. They're both on the tree at the same time. I don't know. That's my
Cool.
guess.
We got another one. Of course, you would say the orange.
I don't know. I was thinking like morning glory or something like that, or passion flower. I don't know.
Dandelion. In the morning, it's the sun. In the afternoon, in the evening, you have this moon, right? And then I picked it up with the kid in my arms the other day, and I blew it, and it all separated. And I was like, oh my gosh, the stars too. And when you really look at it and you dig into the dandelion and you start looking at the geometry of it at the micro level, it's so badass. It is an ancient. It is, and what it's one of the most valuable things in our yards, right? And like it just hit me. I'm like, oh my god, so freaking beautiful. I don't mow anymore because of it.
Well, and you got the earth, you got the root of the dandelion, which you can make drinks out of.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it's super. It's the first thing you see too on a site when the forest is cleared.
Healing. They're healing. They're healing the soil, right?
Yeah, bioaccumulators. Yeah.
There's a little bioaccumulator. There's a meat eater. This is what a meat eater looks like, guys. Any confused commenters? You don't look like this, you're not a meat eater. That's
Keith Lakeworth rodents.
Hey, Trice Hughes just texted me. He liked the dandelion reference. Trice, I asked Trice when I met him. So, Jack, you'll like this one. I said, so what do you eat, Trice? Because, he lives in his van and he works. He worked for Pete. He worked for Pete Canaris. I don't know if you, Longo knows Trice. He goes, I'm an omnivore opportunist. And I'm an omnivore opportunist. And I never forgot that term. He was so blunt and honest with me. I'm like, that matches your lifestyle perfectly.
But also when you see what he's eating, it's a lot of melons and a lot of fruits.
You see him mowing down the seeds he was eating the papaya in his van the other night, and he just ate a scoop of the papaya seeds. You do that?
No, I hate papaya seeds.
Bro.
Oh, yeah. That's
Do you guys know the papaya seed is a natural
anti-life.
Yeah. I can't say it. And natural birth control.
Right. The seeds for the man, correct me if I'm wrong, the seeds taken as like a supplement for the man lower his sperm count to 0. You know about this?
No.
Taking papaya seeds as it's got papas in there. So it lowers your sperm count to 0. And apparently you can go back when you get off the papaya seed. Apparently, from what I've read, haven't tried this, it goes way back higher. Your sperm count goes higher than it ever was before.
Rebound.
Now then green papaya, so the unripe, or at least certain varieties, I don't know, but certain varieties, if it's green, if it's unripe, that for a woman will do almost the same thing, but it's more so like a Plan B pill. Unripe papaya is like a Plan B pill for women.
Wow.
So
this is not medical advice.
That's right.
Not medical advice.
You're not a doctor.
But not medical advice. Not medical advice, but it's better than a trip to the Rockefeller-funded Planned Parenthood. We're all about Planned Parenthood. That's what I should have called this.
Way, guys,
Plant with a T. Planned Parenthood is what we're doing here.
Oh, I love that.
We're Planned parents. Yo, I love that you just said that. I didn't even know that. What you were saying, that it bounces back up even higher. I didn't even know that. But anyways, it also, like, even if that's like not 100% true or whatever, although I'm sure it is, the everyone keeps saying anti-parasitical properties. Like, we take these general, like, we learn these things about these plants, like we start to gain knowledge around these plants, and then anyways it applies to different areas. Like what I learned in Hawaii when I first started learning about papayas, it was in Hawaii, and it was working on farms with people who lived on the island and like lived off the land, and they said they would feed the papayas to the pigs, and it would get rid of all their parasites, and that's how the pigs would stay healthy. They said listen, like that's how they said throw all the extra papayas to the pigs because it keeps them healthy.
Basic.
It's this little knowledge that like it keeps everything else in gear, you know, and check.
So, wouldn't that work for maybe too, Jack?
With who?
Wouldn't that work for us maybe too, Jack?
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah. And again, it's like it's also learning, like, dude, it's like really like I don't know. I do take like everything I'm saying and everything we're saying, right? Take it all with a grain of salt, because it's like really like we need to like triple, quadruple check all these things, right? You guys would understand. Like I have some plants that I grow with my clients where I'm like, hey, certain people eat this raw, but I wouldn't eat this raw. Like because of this, and that. There's like so much nuance and like there's so many. So anyways, like it's really important.
Know your shit.
To know your shit. Yeah. You can't get all excited about growing food. I guess that's just rule number one. You can't eat everything.
Yo, my chickens are losing their mind. We're losing their minds, and we have a massive angel's trumpet tree. And I have this metal water bin for them
psychedelic
with the hose, and I fill it up. I wasn't even thinking. I had angel's trumpet flowers and leaves in the water, falls off the tree into their water. I wasn't even thinking. These things are losing their minds.
Your chickens?
They're tripping balls off.
Do you guys know about this? The Datura flower?
I was worried about them dying, honestly, because it's so
You've seen it.
It is one of the most powerful hallucinogens on the planet.
Yeah.
Toxic. And I'm like, oh man, maybe this is why they're chickens are
I've heard
they were weird. And I was like, angel's trumpet.
Dude, perfect example. Yo, so you're saying you've probably seen those. You could probably pull it up, Dr. Narcolongo. Guys, you Google angel's trumpet or Datura flower.
Oh, well, I know that. I know the nickname.
Yeah, okay, cool. It's a road in West Palm. Every street in West Palm is a plant, by the way. Avernia, gardenia, Datura, it goes all the way down, all the hibiscus, Datura. Anyways, you're saying, dude, some people take that flower as a psychedelic and they're like into it and do it.
Yep.
And then I've heard from like shamans and stuff, and they say, hey, like that's that's not something. I've seen people experience that. You've seen your chickens that were tripping out. They're saying, hey, that's one I don't do.
I heard
like just right. Getting the facts.
The shaman said no. The shamans told me no. They said yes, but no.
They told you that too. Yep. Yeah.
My only friend that I've had who like died young, from a friend that I grew up with, was a drug dealer who'd go around collecting the angel trumpets to take them and make brews out of them. So,
gosh, dude,
that's the demographic.
Wow.
For RIP, but
RIP. Yeah. So, anyways,
what do you guys think about growing mushrooms? We didn't bring that up since we're all in Florida. Is anybody interested in growing shrooms? I've seen some pretty cool. They'll drop off a freaking trailer at your place, and you got a rolling mushroom business. I was like, ooh, this is getting.
I don't have much experience growing mushrooms, but we did pick up a bunch of spent substrate from like a mushroom grower. He just wants to get rid of it, So farmers will take that and they'll grind it up, maybe run over it with the truck a bunch of times, grind it up, mix it with their compost. And then that kind of will allow the mycelial structure to inoculate the compost and create some extra life in there.
Absolutely.
So we've done that. And then we also notice we'll get like, what type of mushrooms were they? Like shiitakes just growing out of the compost pile. And then we go harvest them straight from there.
Do you eat mushrooms?
Sometimes, yeah, I do.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
We got chanterelles where I'm at. You guys know what chanterelles are?
Fucking so good. They're like the most flavorful. Besides morels, maybe. Chanterelles have a really good flavor.
The textures, dude, we have all the orange chanterelles just everywhere under the oak trees here, right? You can People mow them. They don't. Nobody I know eats them besides like maybe 3 people ever, and I know everybody. And I eat them, But they have these bright red chanterelles too. And every time I see one, I feel like it's like the golden ticket. But the chanterelles, man, they're like, I pull them like string cheese almost. You pull them apart, and it looks like string cheese. Texture is amazing. You can saute them in a pan with salt and pepper. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, I love them.
Nice. Well, all right, guys. My dinner just got dropped off. We're gonna wrap it up here.
Gluten.
Closing thoughts. Actually, it's some Cole Cannon potatoes, which is just mashed potatoes with kale, like in them, like a lot of kale and a lot of green onions. So it's it's like green mashed potatoes, pretty much.
You call him Colt Cannon? That's a professional skateboarder.
Yeah, it's like an Irish or Scottish last name.
Okay.
Cole Cannon potatoes. But fuck yeah, I'm Irish as hell. I'm a potato. Beep.
Potato head.
I'm a potato teenager. Well, guys, closing thoughts, closing arguments.
We just got to tap into the abundance. It's all around. God gave us this world to cultivate and to
elevate,
harvest. We didn't talk too much about foraging. There's a lot of wild growing food out there. And if you don't have access to that, make sure you, can create some of your own food in your house, whether it's in your kitchen, sprouting in your backyard. Hire Jack to come build a garden in your house.
Yeah, baby.
If you live near Jupiter. And I don't know, the more I get into eating plants, like I've always been into fruits and vegetables, but I'm like vegan, high fruit, eat fruit all day, and greens. And it just really teaches me about the self-replicating nature of these fruits. They all have seeds in them. And in one seed is infinite more fruits. So we're given like this beyond abundance. We could create so much fruit that it just smells like compost everywhere you go, right? We don't want that, obviously, but we're in such a place, so much industrialization coming out of this, whatever, how many industrial revolutions have we had? We're in the 4th one, I guess, right now with AI and all that garbage. But that doesn't bother me. AI doesn't concern me. These computers can get as high powered as they want. Nature will always be there. Seeds will always germinate. I mean, they can try to block out the sun, but I don't even think they can. I don't even think that Mother Nature will allow it. She's way too strong. She's way too big. The winds are way too strong. The world is perfect, y'all. We have the access to abundance at our fingertips, and it's just about harnessing it. So team up with your neighbors, team up with your family, team up with anyone. Get on a meetup, start a Facebook group. You find these people out there. And actually, if you let me share my screen, I have some Instagram pages who I'll just put up. People can screenshot it and start getting connected with people in your area, so that we can just have the most abundance out there. It is literally available to us if we choose.
So it's a good point too about Mother Nature. In the media, they try and paint it as like we're holding little, weak, poor little Mother Nature hostage. Big burly man is trampling on Mother Nature. No. We're like a little dwarf toddler yanking on the shoelace of Mother Nature. And she's like, whatever, fucking Amazon's you going through some trouble. I'll deal with it in 1,000 years when it's actually, an issue. Something like that is probably closer to the truth. Mother Nature can flush us down the drain anytime she wants. God can flush the drain anytime he wants. And we're at the mercy of Mother Nature, not the other way around. These Democrat, leftist, globalist lunatics are nature worshipers, but not the right way. They worship the divine feminine, the dark feminine, the chaining Mother Nature up. Oh yes, we're going to protect Mother Nature. It's the other way around. You've kidnapped Mother Nature for her own good now. Yeah, we're going to stop the whatever. Whole other rabbit hole. Seth, I'll bring this up for you.
Yeah, can y'all see that? What is this?
I think it's loading.
Okay.
Maybe not. Oh, I don't see it yet.
Weird. It's not showing me either. Let me try one more.
Come on, Masad.
Share
Masad,
screen.
hit the scramble button.
I could just try sharing my whole screen
Whole screen.
and then just go like this. What do y'all see? Anything?
Nothing yet.
Well, Jesus.
Yeah, nothing.
It's,
All right. I probably didn't allow access to my computer or something like that.
We
That's
love
all
you
right.
We love you anyway, Seth.
yeah.
Love you too.
That's all right. Don't worry, Seth. I've got plenty of stuff to shill. But we'll. Sorry.
Yeah, no, I just want to piggyback on what Seth said, man. Tap into the abundance, like what we said today. It's like the off-grid fallacy, right? It's scarcity and abundance. It's really, really just like, guys, being engaged with nature. I think this is where I think, if there's one other thing I could say before we take off, is try to approach, I'm sure all the people tuning in right now is at least somewhat curious about growing food and sustaining ourselves off the land. Keep that up. Keep that curiosity alive. Like, so many people like think it's like anticlimactic. They get to a plant, they're like, what is this? But it's like, it's really a relationship. It's a keep the interest alive. Like, the curiosity is where we got to figure out about these plants and about nature before we're going to be able to live in the abundance. So anyways, yeah.
Shell, yeah, Jack. Well
That's
said.
it. Yeah.
Spencer, final thoughts here.
My final thoughts are, you guys know who I am and what I'm about. I'm going to be freeze drying a shit ton of Florida organic produce. You guys are awesome. I'm happy to, be able to call you guys at least my digital friends if I don't know you that well. Pleasure. You guys are wonderful humans. Thanks for having me. I'd love to talk anytime. So reach out if you guys ever want to talk business or anything Florida. If I see your message, I might respond faster than a lot of the others. But you guys can text me. Share my number. You guys are great. Peace.
Shell, yeah, Spence.
Heck yeah.
Seth?
Yeah, I think I said most of it.
True.
Just think about what we can do instead of the limitations. Don't worry about AI. Don't worry about whatever this technocratic garbage might turn out to be. Just focus on the solutions and plant that food.
Yep.
Yeah, Fruit Companion, Radical Health Zine. I just published another podcast today. It's on seasonality of fruit. I said goodbye to the oranges and citrus, and I said hello to the melons, and just kind of witnessing the change of seasons right now. And all about them veggies.
Shell, yeah.
Get after it. Plant those seeds, save those seeds. And sprouts. Don't forget the sprouts.
Sweet. Guys, buy The Fruit Companion, available at the Dancing Elephant bookstore. Go subscribe. Check out my guests here. Oh, shit. Spencer dropped out. Farmer Jack, Urban Abundance on YouTube. Seth, he's on Instagram, YouTube a little bit. He's got his podcast that he's kicking up again. And Spencer from Florida. He might pop back in, but Spencer from Florida, he's on TikTok. I think he's most active on TikTok and Instagram, but he's got a YouTube too. Their stuff's linked in the description. And we've got some stuff to shill here a little bit too. This is the Dancing Elephant website. If you like us, you like the show, you want to support, if you want to, support us without YouTube getting a cut. Thanks for all the tips, but maybe you don't want YouTube to get a cut. Go to the dancingelephant.shop. Sorry, no, the dancingelephant.shop. You can use the code OWF. That's for 10% off. Helps me out, helps the store out. You know, get some books, get some crystals. We got lots of cool stuff. Seth does markets too. He sells some books too. I see. You can catch him at the Coconut Grove Market, right?
Yep, Saturdays.
So we got books over there. You can get books shipped to you from the Dancing Elephant too if you're somewhere else. But there's crystals on here too. Guys, arm yourselves against the Illuminati. I'd rather have a fucking chest full of crystals than a chest full of ammunition, right? Guns are good too, but with the crystals. So I'm gonna bedazzle my AR-15. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, turquoise hand grips, and yeah. But that's the Dancing Elephant .shop. Easy peasy. Code OWF. Then we've got the MoringaMan.com.
Hey.
This is my buddy Alex in Dunedin on the west coast of Florida. I've known him for months before we decided to start selling his moringa like this. Florida company, organic moringa. Can't beat this. Like we were saying, totally nutritious, supplement worthy. It's a food too, though. And if you want to buy the whole plant, you're not into the capsules, buy the whole plant off the website. So the moringaman.com, you can use code Old World Florida. Old World Florida. That's it. Moringaman.com, themoringaman.com. Old World Florida is the code. They got capsules, veggie capsules, safe for vegetarians to use. And yeah, then we've got something else. We've got Sip Blue. But, you know, sometimes it's easier to see it rather than just hear about it, right? So we've got a little word from our sponsors here. We've got a word from Sip Blue, the geniuses at the marketing firm that Sip Blue has been using, I hear. Let's see what Sip Blue has to say. That Sip Blue is butterfly pea flower tea. One ingredient. So the moringa, one ingredient. Sip Blue, one ingredient. This is not like some pyramid scheme fucking BS shit. These are my friends' companies in Florida. All these are Florida businesses. They directly help me. They didn't reach out to me out of the blue. It was all organic. Sip Blue, this is all about purifying the blood. This is very much like a fluid thing in your body. Purifying the blood, awakening Atlantean DNA is how other people have said it. Because you're bluing your blood. You're re-bluing your blood. And this is, some say this has like psychoactive effects. But this is a big detoxer. This is a big blood purifier. And there's more to it. You know, we've had Michael on, my friend Michael. He's talked about it. But yeah, go get some Sip Blue. The code for Sip Blue is also OWF. Easy peasy. So we've got a little word from Sip Blue too. And we're going to close with this. We'll close off and see you guys later. Seth and Jack, thanks for being here. Good night. You guys go check them out. And we're going to end with a word from our sponsor. All right.
Thank you, Longo.
What it feels like to sip blue. Reactivate Atlantean DNA with sip blue. The ancient gods were blue and so is their blood. Return your blood to blue by drinking Sip Blue, the flower of life. Sip Blue is a tea made from a single ingredient, butterfly pea flower. Buy Sip Blue with promo code OWF for 10% off at sipblue.com. Sip Blue is a Florida-owned business.